You have to milk the cows or what? Okay. So.
Welcome everyone to the council meeting for Monday, February 27th. Note to members of the public, all cell phones, pagers and or PDAs to be turned off. Additionally, for your information, please be advised that we are audio video recording this meeting. Can you all rise for the singing of All Canada and remain standing for the opening petition and a minute of silence for Mr. Ed Carter Edwards. Councillor Baldwin. Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Councillor Chichuk, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. So may it be.
Please remain standing for 1 minute, please, for Mr. Ed Carter Edwards. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Yes, thank you, everyone, for remaining standing for a minute of silence in memory of Mr. Edward Carter Edwards. As you know, Mr. Edwards passed away. He was born in 1923, and he passed away this February 22nd. If you knew Mr. Edwards, he was quite the soul. He was quite the character. He was actually a POW. He was in the Second World War, and he was actually in one of the major concentration camps. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but how do you say it, Councillor? No, it was Buchwald or something like that. But thank you, Mr. Recker. Yes, he passed away on February 22nd, 2017, born April 2nd in Montreal, Quebec. And he was born in Montreal, and he spent some time also in Hagersville, in Hamilton, and then he eventually moved to the Hamilton area. He was very involved in the Royal Canadian Legion here in town, 393, and he always had a line that started off like this. If you heard this one, please stop me. And he always had a joke, right, Steve? Always had a joke. And actually, it was about the first time in my 48 years that I've ever heard the word sex today in a church. And they were, the minister was telling a joke that Mr. Edwards used to tell. It was a clean joke, but it had the word sex in it. But anyway, great soul, great gentleman. He actually, there's a story that goes like this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, that he went into Foodland one day, and he got on the microphone in Foodland, and he actually sang a song, or he introduced the specials that they have in the produce department on the PA. So what a character. It was just a great eulogy today, and it was Reverend Gary Patterson did an excellent job, and so did his family talking about him. And Mr. Eck, I know you were there today, so it was a It was a funeral, and we were very sad to see him go, but it was a happy time today in the church and at the internment. So this is in memory of Edward Carter Edwards. I thought it was just appropriate that we have a minute of silence for a man who gave so much of his life and for this country. So thank you, everyone. Councillors, I'll ask you number 3, is there a change in order of items on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk. We'll go on to disclosure of pecuniary interest and/or conflict of interest. Any new disclosures of pecuniary interest other than the ones that have already been given at committee? No? Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will move into Mayor. I'll read out the Administration, Finance, Fire Committee conflict of interest that I have myself. Mayor Douglas Joyner, item A2217, report RFDT 0417. And this was corporate sponsorship and cemetery hall board grants. I had declared the conflict of interest because I am on the executive board for the Kristen French Child Advocacy Center and also the honorary chair for Evans Ride for Autism. So that was my disclosure of conflict of interest. We'll move on to number 5, request to address items on tonight's agenda. Note, requests to address items on the agenda are restricted to specific items as follows per section 6.7 of the procedural bylaw. So is there any member of the gallery who would like to come up and speak? Mr. Willis, please.
Councillors, Mayor, and gallery, are you not seeing and hearing the outcry from the public? Passing the recommendations of staff from CAO Chris Carter last week about proceeding with the RFP process regarding the multi-use recreation center with hardly any debate other than some personal attacks to fellow councillors, I wonder if you do get it. The recommendation to proceed still doesn't take into account the following. Number 1, that a whopping 60.77% of the October 15 survey to all households indicated that they would not be willing to pay higher property taxes to support a new recreational facility. Number 2, over and above the $23.6 million expenditure, the additional maintenance and replacement costs during the 30-year debenture are not mentioned. Number 3, costs of additional staff to administer, supervise, and maintain the MERS, i.e. library, arena, gymnasium, multi-use rooms, splash pad, greenhouse, etc., etc. Number 4, the tax levy of 13.6% compound interest over the next 3 years, over and above any further tax assessments and increases. Number 5, a generous offer from a taxpayer to pay for a public plebiscite. Number 6, several positive suggestions from the gallery last week were not considered at all. Number 7, these were just to name a few. What will it take for the mayor and council to realize that the majority of citizens are not in favor of MERS? Surely the letters and articles in the local media, the presentations to committees, and the petitions against the project have a message. This isn't a win or lose contest. It isn't a personal thing. It is a township issue that should be a win-win for all. Why are you not listening?
Thank you, Mr. Willis. Obviously, we need a copy of your presentation for the clerk's department. Thank you for that, sir. Is there any other member of the gallery who would like to speak? Yes, come forward. State your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Melissa LeBlanc. I'm a resident of Caister Center on North Chippewa Road. Do you need me to be more precise?
No, that's good. That's good.
I would just like to say I am also opposed to mirrors, but that's not why I'm here tonight. I just wanted to come here to say that I have to at least say something of my complete frustration and fury regarding this accommodation review and the complete lack of interest from our town council. It's clearly outlined in Section 224 of the Municipal Act that the role of council is to represent the public and to consider the well-being and interests of the municipality. This is the #1 priority of your jobs that we the people elected you to. How is it that the proposal and now recommendation of the GSBN to close down our local public high school right across the road from here is of no interest to you. You barely even raise an eyebrow the past 2 times that it has been mentioned at town council. And it has been mentioned 2 times on record. I've watched the YouTube videos. The parent council of Kaiser Central contacted you, the mayor, last September regarding the proposed ARC, and we were essentially told that the DSPN has a path to follow, and that was their choice and their right. The mayor, you did not actually call us, as you offered to call us in the email. We responded with our phone number for you to call, and you did not follow up. You did actually mention it in a meeting on October 11th, and watching that council meeting on YouTube brought me nothing but disgust. The mayor, explained the ARC proposal and how the schools would be closing. There was not a single comment from any other councillor in this room. No one batted an eyelash. No one had any instant concern. The mere words, South Lincoln will be closing, should do enough to at least have you guys have some sort of concern or want to look into the ARC recommendation review board. The whole point of the review, there's a set process there, but part of their process is they want to hear from us. They're urging us to speak out to them and the trustees and for us to give them statements and our concerns, our issues. They want our feedback. And you guys, since September, that you've been known about this, have failed to do anything. I mean, you can say there's the ARC and that's their right and that's their path to choose, but they want to hear from you. You can look in the final staff report right now and it says that not a single statement has been returned from any of the municipalities involved where the schools are closing. I was able to speak with Councillor Trombetta about it. He's been very open and welcoming to speaking with me on this, which I do appreciate. Others I've never heard back from, including Mr. Rayner. Several times I've emailed you in the past and I've never actually heard a response from you at once. It's actually surprising to see you here. I didn't think you were even still here as a councillor.
Point of order.
My
Mrs. LeBlanc?
apologies.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
My
Do you want
apologies.
us to listen to you?
Sure.
Okay, then please don't chastise us. Continue.
Mr. Trombetta claimed that he had never even heard of the ARC process, that it had never been, he specifically said that it had never been mentioned in town council. He even questioned if you, the mayor, knew about it because he was so surprised to hear about it. This was about 2 weeks ago that he was surprised to hear about it. So I went to YouTube and I found on the October 11th place where it was mentioned, and I did also watch his mentioning of it last week. And again, last week when it came up, and I appreciate that he did bring it up in the meeting last week, again, it was met with complete silence from everyone else here in the gallery. No one had anything to say. Even the chair or whoever they referred to for more details had a lack of information of even knowing when the final date or when the final decision was being made. It's just it's disgusting that it's taken for something to happen and that no one here is urged to want to participate in something that you're actively being asked to participate in. Sorry, I'm just a little bit nervous. The DSPN has the right to use and implement the ARC. However, they have put their staff review up, and I wonder even how many of you have even went to look at the final staff review. If you even clicked onto their website, it clearly says that there are 3 options for how you can get involved. And you can even get involved as a person, even if you want to set aside your position as this council. You could just submit your comments. You can they have all the emails and contacts for all the trustees. You can contact them directly. All they want to do is hear from us, and yet no one has heard from us other than the parents, and it shouldn't be on our shoulders. I mean, we're taking time, and we appreciate that Nicole is even here. I don't know her at all, but she's made this presentation, taken so much of her personal time to force you guys to try to get involved, and why is that even necessary? Even last week when Mr. Trombetta mentioned it in council, the previous discussion was so excited about how council should have a table at Poultry Fest to promote the township and the great things that the township does, and that was a worthy cause, and there was feedback from all of you guys, not all of you, but there was feedback and lively discussion about that. Then he mentioned the ARC, nothing, complete silence. The following conversation was about how St. Martin's was building their new school and the principal was requesting you guys to come for a tour of that school. And again, there was lively conversation. So I just don't understand why, when you can have a school threatening closure in your town, that nobody is willing to step up and say something or at least show some sort of concern when other issues that are not nearly as important you guys are happy to talk about. I feel that you have failed this community, failed the families and the students and the youth for which you claim to want to help and hear from. Are you listening? Again, I echo the words of the previous speaker. Are you listening? Because people have been emailing you. The ARC says that they have even personally been trying to reach out to you, and no one has been getting a response from you. Perhaps you should take a long look in the mirror and remember who you are and what's important to you in your life and as a member of this town council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. LeBlanc. Could we have a copy of your presentation? Thank you. Thank you, folks. Councilors, do we want to respond now, or do we want to wait till later on to respond? It's up to you.
I believe it's on the agenda, and there's other speakers. Mr. Mayor, it'd be most appropriate to listen to everyone first.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else from the gallery that wants to comment on anything on the agenda? No? Okay. We'll move on. Thank you. We'll move on to appointments and presentations. Our first presentation today is a township retiree, and it's a lady by the name of Pat Packer. She is a crossing guard, and she's been a crossing guard for the township of West Lincoln for 17 and a half years of service. So if we could call Mrs. Packer up to the front, we have a little something for her. There's a little bit of water down at the bottom there. So, Mrs. Packer, I just want to say, on behalf of the Township of West Lincoln, this is the certificate of recognition, and we've awarded to Patricia Packer in appreciation of your 17 and a half years of service as a crossing guard. I know that Mrs. Packer, predominantly you were the crossing guard over on Wade Road and Regional Road 14, and were you there for most of your 17 and a half years? So you're everywhere. So you know all the intersections here in West Lincoln. Well, very good. On behalf of the West Lincoln Council and the West Lincoln Corporation, we want to thank you for your 17 and a half years of dutiful service, and we wish you the best in your retirement. Thank you, Mrs. Packer. Congratulations. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Gallery. Next up on the presentations, delegations, we have our Regional Chair, Mr. Alan Caslin. He is here to give us an update on Regional Council's progress and successes in 2016 and ongoing initiatives. Chair Caslin, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to speak. It's great to be back here in Wainfleet. West Lincoln. This is my fourth time giving this presentation. I did do Wainfleet, Port Colborne, and I'm glad to be here in West Lincoln again. I've got just a handful of slides I'm going to go over quickly, but if you have any questions, please, I'll be open to those at the end. I just want to make sure that I get all the material out. So we really are in the, I just need to make sure I do this right.
Oh, it might be a one page that's blank for some reason. Yeah.
Oh, is there one page?
Yeah, if you want to.
There we go. There we go. So we're 50% through our term of council. It's 2 years of the 4-year term, just as you are here, and pleased to announce that we're 60% through our strategic plan objectives, which was great news because it gives us now time to collaborate and work on the rest of our objectives and make sure that we get those right, and make sure that in moving forward we can plan for even more. I just want to touch on the highlights of a couple of the items. You may have more in your package that I want to go to talk about, but just to keep it short, I just want to talk about how this term of council, more than any other, has been working more collaboratively with all levels of government. And it's a lot due to the people around our horseshoe that I'm experiencing, including Mayor Joyner, and I thank him for his support on my council to make sure that we get the most that we can out of the work that we're doing. The collaborative approach with both the federal, the provincial, as well as regional and municipal governments is allowed us to get much more out of our dollars than ever before. And a good example of that is what we've got in Welland. A new General Electric plant has been announced in Welland. It's currently under construction. When it came to Niagara, we didn't know where they wanted to go. We didn't know if we could attract them to Niagara. We managed to get them in, and we talked about all the sites in Niagara. They picked Welland, and we're happy to support them in Welland. Listen, my father worked in Welland for most of his career, even though we lived in the north end of St. Catharines. What's in Niagara is good for everybody. So that's the way we're looking at it. And that's what we call our Team Niagara plan on a number of issues that we're working with, including the Gateway Economic Zone, our CIPs, creating new jobs, and just fostering an environment for economic prosperity. Our foreign trade zone point designation is something that's brand new for us, but I'll tell you, it is the only one in Ontario, and only 7 in Canada exist. So for anybody wanting to do business in Ontario, Niagara is the place to do it if you want to be exempt from duties and taxes if you're an importer-exporter type business. It just makes a lot of sense for people like GM and GE to take advantage of that right here in Niagara. And it's all of Niagara. It's not just one location, it's all of Niagara. Our Daily Go rail service, everybody probably has heard about that on the news. We know that it's going to be coming 2021 to 2023 all the way to Niagara Falls. We're hoping to accelerate that schedule by helping the province with their mandate and helping them get a little further with resources from the region. To just talk about transportation a little more and what we're doing in Niagara, we put an additional $2 million in our regional roads for resurfacing and infrastructure. We've talked about the GO Rail, but you should see, in 2017, you should see the St. Catharines and Niagara Falls train stations start to see some work in 2017. Intermunicipal transit is something that's pretty big in Niagara right now. It's the 3 transit commissions, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and Welland, coming together to form one transit commission for all of Niagara and to service the outlying areas such as West Lincoln. I mean, we want to get bus service everywhere. We want people who get on the GO train or get off the GO train to be able to get to their destinations, whether it's for work, for education, for hospital trips, or for visits. I mean, it's great to have that system, that GO train system in Niagara, but once you get to your destination in St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, or Grimsby, or Lincoln, it'd be great to be able to get all the way out to West Lincoln, to Wainfleet, to Port Colborne, and all the other locations in Niagara. We're currently undergoing an airport study to, you've probably heard that we now have a flight that would take you from Niagara to Toronto. It flies several times daily. Has anybody taken it? Well, I have. 14 minutes, 23 seconds. You can now get to Toronto faster than you can from here by driving down to Niagara, parking your car for free, getting on the plane, $60 later, you're in Toronto, and sorry, $80 later, you're in Toronto, and you can hit the 9 o'clock meeting in downtown Toronto. So I mean, it's just another option rather than having to fight traffic from here to Toronto on the highways. The ferry service, we had an agreement with. Sorry. The ferry service, we had an agreement with the St. Lawrence Seaway Commission that expires this year. We're looking to continue that service for the residents of Port Robinson to be able to get back and forth across the canal. The canal bridge, as you probably know, about 20 years ago was taken out. So in terms of affordability for residents, I want to talk to you just a little bit about what we've been able to do. We've been able to lower the rate for waste management for residents, 1.2%, resulting in about $400,000 in savings. Our net operating budget is about $35 million in 2017. And we feel that reduction is due to not only source separation, but also some innovative things that we've been doing within the recycling and collection departments. So kudos to those folks in that department. In terms of property tax, they're there for you to see. You can see the rates of inflation over the past 3 years, but you can also see the tax increases from a regional perspective. At 2015, we were at 1.92%. 2016, 0. And 2017, 1% plus an additional 1% for infrastructure. and that's the roads and the infrastructure levy that we talked about. So an average of less than 1% of regional tax increase for the past 3 years. So we talk about effective government, we talk about new ways of doing things, and 3 items on this page are the value for money audits, or VFM, the alternate service delivery, or ASD, and our Standard & Poor's rating. We did 3 audits in 2015 and 2 in 2016 on trying to understand that we're getting good value for our tax dollars when we spend them. This is probably one of the first times we've ever looked at that sort of depth of our spending and how it results. A couple that we did, you can see on the page there, the combined overflow sewer tank and pumping station in Chippewa, and also our fleet management are the ones that we worked on last year, just to make sure that how we do things, we're getting good value for our dollars. And if we don't, then we can pivot and we can change the way we do things or update what we need to in wherever the department should lie. In terms of alternate service delivery, we've taken on a number of different candidates for alternate service delivery, including long-term housing, our social housing, trying to make sure that the way we deliver services, perhaps there's a better way in combination with the private sector, maybe it's better given to the private sector, but either way we want to make sure how our tax dollars are being spent is the most efficient and effective way possible. We just got rated by Standard & Poor's again, AA stable is a great rating for a municipality, so it's something that we can all cheer about and be proud of. This is the same rating as we have had for a while, and given our, what they talked about, Standard & Poor's talked about, is one of the reasons for it is our collaborative approach to government and working together and getting more out of our tax dollars. So it's a feather in our cap for what you do here and what's being done at the region as well. So thank you for that. Talking about investment in communities, there's a number of items listed here. I won't go through all of them, but I'll just talk about a couple of them. We moved to a 24/7 extra paramedics to serve Niagara residents. Specialized transit, $360,000 invested in specialized transit. Intermunicipal transit, as we talked about earlier, $765,000, and $200,000 for the Niagara on the Lake waste treatment plant to bring that on stream. In terms of our capital budget and some of the items in there, we've already put our money in for our GO train. We talked to the province and the feds about what it would take to get GO to Niagara Falls, and they said, well, first of all, you're going to have to belly up with a third of the money, and we did. So $40 million is set aside for the GO rail service to Niagara, and working on the stations, as I said, should happen this year. Just picking on a couple of more highlights. $12.5 million for road resurfacing is something that we've focused on. We've heard loud and clear from our residents that our roads are in need of repair, and we want to make a difference. New water infrastructure support for the population of Grimsby, $14 million there. So in 2017, what are our key projects moving forward? The 2021 Games. Has everybody heard about the Canada Summer Games?
Yes.
Yeah?
We voted.
No? Okay. Well, Canada Summer Games is something that we're trying to rally behind, and in particular, on Wednesday, March the 1st, the bid evaluation committee is going to be in Niagara looking at the facilities that we've got to offer, and we're trying to get as many people as possible out at the Scotiabank Centre at 9 o'clock in the morning and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the Meridian Centre in St. Catharines to rally behind the bid that we put forward and showing support for the bid that we want Niagara to have the Games. Important to note in that bid is that every community in Niagara, all 12 communities, will have activities taking place should we be successful in the Games bid. Transportation we've talked about. We're going to continue with our intermunicipal transportation initiative as well as our GO Train expansion. Housing and homelessness, we're looking at a number of new builds in Niagara, in St. Catharines, and in Welland right now. Have got builds planned. We know that we have 6,000 people on our waiting list for housing in Niagara. That's way too many. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If we build 1,000 houses each term of council, each 4-year term of council, how long would it take to eradicate that list? And the answer, of course, is 24 years. Well, it's way too long for somebody to be without a house or waiting for a house. So we're trying to make a difference, and with 1,000 houses per term, that's a lofty goal, but it's something that we're shooting for. I'd rather hit 800 houses shooting for 1,000 than hit 8 houses shooting for 100. So stretch targets are good. Retention of our under 35 demographic, that's trying to keep our young folks in Niagara. We've done a lot of work on that. It's become a priority of council to make sure that we've got not only the reason for our U35 to want to stay in Niagara, but jobs for them as well. So it's incumbent upon us and our educational institutes to make sure that we're training our young people for the jobs that are available, and that we service them with the priorities that they look for, which is high-speed internet, transportation systems, affordable housing, and of course jobs available. So some of the things on trying to keep our under 35 demographic. And also our regional procurement. We've heard a lot of talk about how the region procures services. I can tell you we're doing a lot of work on that procurement process to try and make sure that we're doing everything that we need to make sure our dollars are going the furthest they possibly can. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I hope I haven't gone over my time limit, and I'll...
No, you did good. Good. You didn't have to bang the gavel or nothing to get you to speed up. And there wasn't even a number in the corner there to tell you where you were, but
okay.
You're under 10 minutes.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Council, do you have any questions for Chair Caslin at this time? Councillor Chichuk?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for coming to West Lincoln. I'm glad you didn't refer to us as West Niagara, because we seem to be having a problem with that amalgam, calling us a complete community and blending us as 3 distinct communities. And this is a complete community. And we have land in West Lincoln. Our Economic Development Committee is just a fledgling organization that is starting to focus on this committee, this council and committee, will be looking at what we have to offer and potential for keeping our, not just under 35s, our under 18s who don't have high-speed internet out in the rural areas and are looking to move into town, have jobs in town, have access to high-speed internet, and have facilities here in our community that are going to keep them here in West Lincoln. And we're going through some tough times, as you've probably heard. I want to commend you for the value for money audits. I know there's been a couple of black eyes on the region, and you've been through some tough times. It's only by bearing your soul and admitting that there's been some issues that we can get better. So that's my comment on that. But just before I sign off, representation by population, you may have already heard, but this council has asked and will be sending to the region the fact of a new representative. It's very hard for a community like ours that has 1 representative, and without disrespect to the mayor, it's not easy. In fact, it's impossible for the mayor to represent us on every committee and to be at every meeting down there. And our community doesn't have to grow much more than what it is right now before it needs to have a bit of a look, and I'd love you to look at that governance review for the region and have a thought about how you provide for adequate input and from all the communities, and have that voice out there so that it's on all your committees, and then those committees feed up into your council. So look forward to that request. We're hoping to beat the sands of time and get that onto your agenda so that we can have it for 2018. We'd love to have it here, and we'd love to elect them locally to serve both levels as well. So we're past any kind of dispute at this council on how we want to elect those people as well. So we need to work well with the region. Economic development is very paramount for us. We do have lands ready to go, but we don't want warehouses. We want jobs.
Right.
And you want us to have jobs too, because you need the density. So we're looking forward to working with you on a number of things, and thank you for coming to West Lincoln.
Thank you very much. If I could just respond, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
As you already know, West Lincoln is the largest municipality in Niagara.
We've noticed.
by geographic size, and probably one of the communities that's feeling the most pressure from the growth of the GTHA. And you can see it. I can see it when I come here, and I come here often to witness the growth and the developments that are happening. And they rallied the Oakvilles and the Burlingtons of the world right now in terms of what's happening. I met with the mayor and the CAO not long ago with our CAO to get what the top priorities were for West Lincoln. And I can assure you, he's got his eye on development, and he's got his eye on jobs. So kudos to your mayor for bringing it to our attention as well. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Mr. Cassidy.
Thank you, Chair. Any other comment? Councilor Gannett.
Just very briefly, I would like to also thank you for coming, but I was very happy to hear you mention something about transit in connection with the outlying areas. That's an issue that comes up. It's something that people are concerned about when they read that part of their dollars are going towards transit, because obviously there is absolutely nothing here. And I know that at one time the mayor tried to ride the bus and see if we could get something going even to Niagara College. It's crucial. So the fact that you've mentioned it at least lets us know that it's on your radar, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. It certainly is, and it's one of those things that, Mr. Mayor, through you, that I've focused on since the beginning was, let's get transportation out, no matter what size it is, whether it's a bus, a van, or whatever the size requirements might be, and having one commission think about those things for all the communities in Niagara makes just a whole lot of sense. In fact, tomorrow we have a meeting in New York State. We'll be meeting with the Niagara Falls transit people to establish a connection not only within Niagara, but they want the connection across the border as well. So the GO connection from Niagara Falls, Canada to Niagara Falls, New York. So looking forward to that, as well as servicing West Lincoln.
Very good. Councilor Rayner.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, you mentioned about spending money wisely, especially on roads and transportation.
Yes.
I believe next year there are plans to kind of lock West Lincoln in with 3 roundabouts or traffic circles, which to me are like corrals. That seems like an awful waste of a lot of money when the roads are the way they are right now, are just fine, and that money could be used for some other more productive things than to try to corral this town in, which is basically what it is if you put it on the north, east, and west side, because there's nothing on the south side but agriculture. Is there any thoughts, second thoughts about that? It just doesn't seem right to me, and it seems an awful waste of a lot of money. It's only decorative.
Absolutely. In your mayor, we certainly count on the input from your mayor at a regional level to make sure that what we intend to spend money on, and I'm sure he would agree that we get it in front of us often enough that we see what's being done in every community, and if there's something that doesn't look right or something that we won't appreciate, then certainly speak up. Let's make a change. When I think about roundabouts, I think about the 2 that they just put near my house on 7th Street on either side of the highway overpass. It's a unique situation that we're just not used to. I'm just not used to. When I was in England a couple of years ago, I was riding in a car with my cousin, and I said, man, there's a lot of roundabouts here. And there's roundabouts everywhere. And I said, we're starting to see them in Canada, in Niagara. And he says, you guys finally get it. You finally get it. You don't have to stop. You don't have to stop your vehicle. You can continue to move. It's stopping and starting the vehicle that really aggravates people. So being able to keep your vehicle moving is the benefit of roundabouts. So, but if you don't want them, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. My wife was born and raised in England, and she looks at these ones and she laughs. She says they don't know how to build them. In England, they are too wide so that they can handle traffic better. Here, they're single. And so many times, like going down 65, you go through a couple of them all the way to Peter's Quarters. I've had people stop in front of me when there's no cars on the roundabout at all. I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. This road was 60, 80 kilometers an hour. Now I got to practically stop because of this asinine thing, which serves no function to me except to be annoying. And we're going to stick 3 of them in West Lincoln. And I don't even want to come to town after that because I haven't got the time of day to bother with them. And they're expensive. We've got an area out in my area in Caister Center called Warner, where the regional road is collapsing. It's been looked at. There's $1 million that could be spent on it to reinforce. It's a very steep cliff. And when they resurface it, which they did about 10 years ago, immediately the asphalt started to fall in. I rather the money that you would have used to make 3 useless roundabouts that serve no purpose be put to something that would save the integrity of the road and the safety of the people who drive on that road. That to me is putting the money to a more useful thing. If we got money afterwards left over, then yeah, we can put wallpaper and we can put fancy stuff, which I consider that to be. But that to me is after everything else that's essential is meant, that's decorative and it's annoying and it slows traffic down. So,
So, Mr. Chair, before you answer anything about Warner, there is a presentation that the mayor is going to do, I was going to do last week, but we ran out of time. So all of council and staff will know that the region has put money into bank stabilization program in Warner, and that we will be going out for RFP either sometime late this summer, early next spring, in order to get that fixed. So I just haven't explained that just yet to council. Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, before you answer it, through you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
This council did vote for those roundabouts. So you were encouraged to include roundabouts in the regional plan at the the majority of this council asking you to do so.
So I just want to let you know that your voice is being heard, and that you do have a collective voice, and we do listen at the regional level. Mayor Joyner often brings the issues to us, and if there's consensus found at this level, we're happy to consider it at regional level and comply the best we can.
We'll get back to you and let you know where we stand on it.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Councillor Rayner, last point.
Yeah, I have one other thing. When it comes to property taxes, the region takes the lion's share of it, and which I believe right now is 54%. There are major projects that have to be done in this township, I believe, to the tune of like $62 million in capital in the next 10 years, just to look after our infrastructure, our bridges, our roads, and everything else. I'm just wondering if there's anything that can be done to tighten up the situation in the region so that we could be in a position where that number could be lowered and there would be more money available to the township. I know right now in Hamilton, they've done some trimming to staff, and anything that can be done, I'm probably sure when I say that the region is probably the largest employer in Niagara, that there should possibly be something done that we can reduce that, because it would be impossible for this township, based on the taxes that we receive, to come up with $62 million to do all the necessary repairs. We need help to do that, and the region takes an awful big bite out of our tax dollar. If that could be reduced, that would free up more money to allow us to get more of these things done in our township that are not on regional roads.
Well, I would think that the point there, Mr. Chair, is that $62 million in West Lincoln, I think it's probably $962 million at the Niagara region. We have probably at least that much over the next 20 or 30 years in infrastructure needs just for roads and bridges alone. So they're feeling, at the region, we're feeling the same as what we're feeling here at the township.
I understand that, as the Chair mentioned, West Lincoln is the largest municipality of the 12 municipalities in the region of Niagara. I believe there's something like 450 kilometers of roads in this township alone. So our situation is unique. We're rural, we're large, and consequently the infrastructure cost to maintain them at a safe level is much more. And that's why we need as much help as we can get.
Thank you, and we're listening. One other thing I wanted to point out, and I didn't mention my presentation, but it is probably important to West Lincoln, is the escarpment crossing that we're looking at on Bartlett Road. I'm sure you've driven up Bartlett Road, and it comes to a dead end at Highway 8, and I know that we're looking with intensity at trying to extend Bartlett Road towards the, is it Park?
Yes.
Park Road, through the escarpment to make a safer access for trucks. Right now there's really considerable danger in what we have in our road system across the escarpment, and we're trying to make an improvement on that, and I'm sure that's going to impact West Lincoln as well.
Thank you. Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's good to hear that you're a lot of things in your presentation. And one thing, obviously, is real important is obviously rural internet and getting people to get internet in tough locations. A lot more people are working from home these days, and it's a huge importance. And I'm just glad to see that something's obviously a lot of people's voices are getting heard out there. The only thing I didn't get to hear is where is the region on natural gas, getting natural gas out to the rural areas? I know that's a question that's up to the upper levels of government, and I was just curious, just in my own mind, like where does the region stand on achieving to get natural gas to a lot of rural residents and in that aspect? If you can maybe touch on that, if possible, or.
So it's a cost-benefit analysis for the large companies like Enbridge to want to do that. I mean, it's certainly not on my radar right now, so I'm probably not going to give you the right answer or at least enough of an answer for you to appreciate. But I can certainly have a look at that to see where, if the region is involved and if they are, at what level.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, if you could just hold on one sec here. I know you would have said this, but your presentation was probably already in the can. But it's going back to what Councillor Trombetta was talking about, rural high-speed internet. We actually just had an announcement just last week on rural high-speed internet.
Right.
Do you remember what that is? I'm just trying to look it up real quick.
So I don't, but it was the initiative that it's part of the SWIFT program, as well as an additional number of nodes that we're going to be placing around Niagara, and they actually showed us a map of where those nodes were being placed in areas that were underserviced, with the hope, intent of providing high-speed internet to everywhere in Niagara.
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up here. I was just trying to look for the dollar figure. I believe it's somewhere in around the 12 million mark or something like that that Niagara region has put towards high-speed internet out in the rural areas. And that's key because, I mean, not only are all the children out there and all the adults and all the seniors out there getting on internet, it's crucial even for our farming because all of these big combines now have the capability to take what information they've got from the combine and bring it inside, and then they need to get that to their marketing boards too as well. So I think the title here says funding could help bring digital age to rural Niagara. The region is hoping to tap into more than $6 million in federal funding as part of the plans to bring blazing fast internet to the far corners of Niagara. The federal government has identified 33 rural areas of Niagara that are eligible for potential backbone infrastructure funding under the new Connect to Innovate, the new CTI program. Yes.
CTI.
Yes. So, you know, that is key. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Yes, Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, are these fiber optic lines? Is their intentions in doing, or is there any other methods? So just to clarity to me for the public to know that these fiber optic lines that they're going to extend to the far corners, or
yes,
that's exactly what they're going to do. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, and how that combines with the SWIFT project, I'm not sure if that's one project and the SWIFT's another, but suffice to say there is rural high-speed internet coming to rural Ontario and rural Niagara.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So. Any other councillors want to speak? So the one last thing that I want to say to you is that thank you for coming again. And you mentioned about the north-south escarpment crossing,
yes,
that it's on the radar, and we want to put it on the radar of the MTO and the other different ministries of Toronto. The other hot topic that I spoke to you about in the CAO of the Niagara region is that we are working very hard, shoulder to shoulder, on still trying to get our new West Lincoln Memorial Hospital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and as I told you at that time, I have met with Hamilton Health Sciences. I'm in full support of trying to get that hospital built. You know, it's great to be able to come to West Lincoln, whether it's for the Poultry Fest or for the many soccer tournaments I participated in at the
Leisureplexx.
Yeah, the Leisureplexx is right. You know, I think West Lincoln is poised for greatness, whether it be in jobs at Stanpack and I understand they're expanding in a significant way. Growth in housing. I can tell you, you're taking a lot of people from the St. Catharines and the Niagara Falls who love to live in somewhere just a little bit more rural, but still in Niagara. And I think it's just a great place to be.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Caslin.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to number C. Ms. Nicole Shime is here to speak about request for public meeting concerning closure of South Lincoln High School, in June of 2017. Ms. Shime? And if I could, Chair Caslin, if you could just stick around for a few minutes just to hear under communications number 8, we'll be talking about request for support, Niagara Regional Council's resolution in support of family members of missing persons. So Chair Caslin, if you could just stick around for that. Okay.
I will get it.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying that I'm a little nervous. Sorry, I might talk a little fast, but I'll do my best. First, I'd like to thank the Councillor, CAO clerk, and other members of the township for allowing me to speak. As I'm sure some of you are aware, I'm Nicole Shime, and I'm lobbying against the DSBN's Niagara Accommodation Review. I have been a part of this community for 30 years, married my kindergarten sweetheart from Caister School Elementary, bought my first home, and I'm now raising my 2 children in our beautiful rural community. My roots are deep, and I intend to fight for what I believe in. Many other community members have chosen to fight with me and support me in my journey. I started a social media platform to keep members of the communities involved and to provide updates along the way. The following presentation represents the sentiments of the 995 members currently opposed to the accommodation review. This presentation will be presented tomorrow at the DSBN trustees meeting. And although many parts of it do not pertain to the Township of West Lincoln, I felt it was pertinent for the councillors in the township to know their constituents' views. And I've also been advised that there's a few minor mistakes in my presentation. I'm going to ask that you work with me on this, as I'm a full-time working mom of 2. There are some tight deadlines, so just please bear with me. Okay. So as it has previously been mentioned, the West Lincoln Township is one of the biggest areas. By comparison, Toronto is only 630 kilometers squared. And the Government of Ontario does not recognize West Niagara as a community. However, it recognizes the town of Lincoln, the town of Grimsby, and the Township of West Lincoln as 3 separate communities. They also, the government has clear policy guidelines supported by the Places to Grow Act, which is outlined in the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. The growth plan, which I'll refer to it from now on, is further supports the concept of a complete community. Complete communities meet the people's needs for daily living throughout an entire lifetime by providing convenient access to an appropriate mix of jobs, local services, a full range of housing, and community infrastructure, including affordable housing, schools, recreation, and open space for the residents. Convenient access to public transportation options for safe, non-motorized travel is also provided. So one of my main questions is, how could West Lincoln be considered a complete community without a publicly funded high school? The other thing that supports our need for a high school is the Places to Grow Act, which I previously mentioned. The long and short of it, the Act enables the decisions about growth, community priorities, and the efficient use of existing infrastructure. The Act also prevails over other conflicts and other things like bylaws, things that the DSBN is proposing, the ARC. And my question is, has the DSBN consulted with the province, or has the township considered this avenue when considering the closure of our high school? The Places to Grow Act also helps the Ontario government plan for growth in a coordinated and strategic way. It allows for designation of areas in the province to be a growth plan area, and once that area is designated as a growth plan area, it cannot change from that. The legislation makes sure that the growth plan reflects the needs, strengths, and opportunities of the communities involved and promotes growth that balances the needs of the economy with the environment. And our area obviously has been designated as an area of growth, which I've heard a lot of tonight, which helps my case. So I'm wondering why the municipality, or the Township of West Lincoln, hasn't challenged the DSBN on this issue. And again, I go back to how it derives its authority from the Places to Grow Act. So this is in fact something that is legislated by the province of Ontario, and it's something that the council should keep in mind when developing their decision or wanting to help us fight for our cause. The growth plan also talks about how it wants to revitalize downtowns, which the township is doing right now, create complete communities, which I already touched on, and also try to reduce traffic, which will obviously not happen once we have more buses going down the escarpment. So the DSBN claims that by 2026, BDSS, Beamsville District High School, would grow by 3, South Lincoln High School by 14, and Grimsby Secondary by 1 additional student. There is no supporting evidence to show how the DSBN arrived at the numbers provided in their final staff report, and when I requested the numbers from the DSBN, they would not provide them to me. They only would say that it's a complicated system. They use their SPS system. I'm not sure what that is, but that's what I was told. The DSBN used projections for 2017, 2021, and 2026 based on the Municipal Comprehensive Review, which is something that is done by the Niagara Region. The MCR, however, does not include a growth scenario for 2017, so I'm doubtful the accuracy of the DSBN's projections. It is also concerning that the final staff report was written the day after the release of the federal census, and none of those numbers were included in their projections. The DSBN also references the preferred growth option in the MCR, and it's a complete contradiction of what they intend to do. So the preferred growth option from the Niagara region is the strategic growth option, which includes the concept of complete communities. That option, or in the MCR, it also states that the future role of Smithville is a key variable as other municipalities build out into the Greenbelt. So the region designates Smithville as a key variable in their strategic growth option, but who would want to move to a town with no public high school? So going back to the federal census, they've provided some numbers. I'm going to assume they're pretty accurate. They're also providing some more numbers that will further help the DSBN make accurate projections. And within those, it stated Smithville grew a whopping 13.4% between 2011 and 2016. Beamsville grew by 11.1% and Grimsby by 7.9%. So with all the statistical data readily available, you would think that the board would redo their calculations. However, within their reports, they used entirely outdated information, which is something else to consider, because we can't base future growth on statistics from 2011 when we've seen so much growth in the past 4 years. So the recommendation, if you are not aware, is to close the 3 secondary schools in Planning Area 1 and build a new school for 2020-2021, with priority given to a site location within the planning area below the Niagara Escarpment. This is a huge concern for people living in the township of West Lincoln. I'm wondering, this doesn't really affect the township, but has the board considered the Niagara Escarpment Plan, which was just previously mentioned, and the potential traffic analysis that may be required with more buses? I'm wondering if the board has consulted with the Niagara region regarding the regional escarpment roads and crossing studies with increased bus and commuter traffic? And has the board consulted with the Niagara Greenbelt regarding the increased flow of traffic and potential negative environmental impacts? So none of these things could have been addressed in the final staff report because the DSBN conveniently did not disclose their preferred location until they wrote the final staff report, so none of the public would have had a chance to comment on this.
That's correct.
So this is just some interesting math I did to kind of put things into perspective for those with children in West Lincoln. Consider a student who lives in Caisterville with a direct route down to the YMCA in Grimsby, which is the preferred location for this new school. That student would have a 32-kilometer commute with roughly 196 days in the school year. This student will have traveled roughly 12,554 kilometers on a bus. Now, when you consider that the distance between Vancouver, British Columbia, and Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island is roughly 5,700 kilometers, this student could have driven across Canada twice. So I'm wondering how any school board can justify commuting their students across Canada twice in a single school year. And if that doesn't shock you. A secondary school career is 4 years. So 4 times 12,554 kilometers they would travel in a year is 50,176 kilometers. The Earth's circumference is 40,075 kilometers. So now I'm wondering how any school board can justify making a student travel over the course or over the circumference of a planet within their high school career. These are our kids, your future voters, future farmers, the community's youth. So how could the township not fight or provide comments to this, these lengthy bus rides that our kids will face? The DSBN also speaks a lot in their reports about the retention rates for their schools, and this slide basically just goes over the Catholic School Board and their current retention rates, and as you can see with those numbers in bold, they're almost all overutilized. So it's not an issue of low population or enrollment, it's something else that's happening. And it's up to the DSBN to figure out what that is. So wouldn't it be negligent of the DSBN to spend over $46 million on a new school only to lose a large number of students to the Catholic School Board? How will the board justify a low enrollment then? Will they finally take responsibility? Why is enrollment so low for DSBN in comparison to the Niagara Catholic School Board? I took the time to compare the two different school boards, and again, it's puzzling why they blame slow growth and decline in population when the Niagara Catholic schools are thriving. So much so that they may have to look into building a school in West Niagara to support this growth. So as you can see, the blue is the capacity of the school in question. The red is the enrollment of the school, and the green is their 2021 projections. So it's clear to see that the schools are very well utilized. And when you look at the public school system, well, they're both public, but the non-Catholic school system, the blue, again, is the capacity of the schools, the red is the current enrollment, and the green is the 2021 projection. All of the schools are almost underutilized, which is unfortunate that our kids have to pay the consequence for this. Sorry. So the next interesting aspect of the reports is the renewal needs. When requested, I asked the board for the newest data of the 2016 assessment, which is done in conjunction with the board and the Ministry of Education. This audit was completed in July of 2016 and is referenced in the initial staff report, but they wouldn't release it to me. And I'm not sure why, but I have a guess. So I had to go by the latest assessment cycle, which was 2011 to 2015. So back in 2011, the 5-year renewal needs for BDSS was 9.5 million. Grimsby was almost 11, and South Lincoln was around 4. They both had a facility, or all three of them had a facility condition index of 34%, which is the lower the FCI rating you have, the less repair your school needs. So 34% isn't crazy, it's not that bad. Come the DSBN's initial staff report, they gave their projected renewal needs for 2016-2020, and shockingly, Beamsville now needs $26 million in work, which is a 277% increase. Grimsby needs $9.5 million, which is, or $19.5 million, which is a 180% increase. And South Lincoln needs $7 million, which is a 165% increase. So the communities know that our schools in question are not perfect. We know enrollment is down, and we know there is limited course selection. However, the board and the province also know that these are rural schools and may have to offer classes to a smaller group of interested pupils. Invest in our schools, our heritage, and our communities. These communities want proper, unbiased research done by an outside source in consultation with the boards in the province. We want careful consideration and not rushed planning. We want the board to commit to their motto by achieving success together and holding true to their commitment of valuing relationships, respect, and responsibility. So a popular sentiment from the Ontario Alliance Against School Closures is no school equals no community. And unfortunately, that's what will happen for West Lincoln. Why spend millions of dollars on a multi-use recreational facility to only take away our youth for now and the future? It is my hope that the councillors and the mayor will attend tomorrow night's meeting. I understand that there is a resolution proposed for this, so I will withdraw my request for a public meeting if the resolution is passed, I guess. However, I thank you for allowing me the time to speak and to request for a public meeting and possibly allowing other members of the community to voice their concerns. Thank you.
Very good. Nicole. We have some questions and comments for you.
Oh, no.
Hey, how many minutes do you get to speak tomorrow?
5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were about 11 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was good because you got to time it on us, and I wrote down the time here, 7:54, and you roughly finished around 8:05, which is 11 minutes. So you might have to cut it down a little bit, speak faster, or just kind of go to certain slides, like really. But you know what? You had an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And when I say to you, Nicole, that you're speaking to the choir, I'll say this: that you have 995 people on your petition. Add 7 more.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay? It's everything that you've said there, we are saying too as well. I just want to say one thing to you. Dispel the notion that this council hasn't done anything, okay? Because we have.
Okay.
And I'm going to list to you real quickly who we've talked to, okay?
Awesome.
So we've talked to the Ministry of Education. We did not talk to the minister, but we talked to the second in command, so the parliamentary assistant.
Yep.
We just did that at the Rural Ontario Municipal Association conference that we had a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Roma. We actually, the CAO and I had a meeting at the back of the room there, that's called Committee Room 1, around that table there, with the entire ARC people. So I'm talking about the gentleman who's facilitating it, to the planning department for the DSBN, to the treasury department for DSBN, the policy people for DSBN. We spoke with everybody from the ARC. We went to the school presentations too as well. I know that Councillor Bell and myself went to South Lincoln. Anybody else go to South Lincoln? Yes, Councillor Gannon went to. Anybody go to Grimsby or Beansville? No? Okay. But we did go, some of us did go to the South Lincoln presentation over there too as well. Personal conversations, many of them, with the DSBN trustee, Ms. Diane Chase. That I don't know about members of council, but I know I had 2 or 3 of them with them. Okay, so I love how you challenge the DSBN. I love how you challenge the fact that they're using 2011 census numbers. Who does planning for the future using numbers that came out 6 years ago? That's ridiculous. And I love how you harp on that and you target that. That's perfect. Keep doing that. I mean, like, everything that you've said in your presentation is bang on. How can anybody sit there and go, no, she's not right? You can't. Everything you've said is bang on. Okay? So, I mean, we have a resolution coming later. Going back in October, November, I'm not sure who it was, but somebody contacted my office, and we sent out all kinds of stuff that high schools in Niagara have already used. I think it was Thorold.
Yes.
And did I send it to you, or?
I'm not sure, but I have heard that Thorold used the growth plan as well.
And that's perfect. And I mean, like, the very fact that DSBN didn't really contact our planning department here in West Lincoln. And for what I understand, not so sure they contacted Grimsby's and Lincoln's. I know they went to the region and talked to the region's planners. But I mean, like, why, if you're planning on taking a high school out of a community, which a high school makes a complete community, why wouldn't you take the time to speak to our planners?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
So it begs the question, what are you trying to put through that you're not telling us? So I agree with you 100%. And we've been saying that all the way along. So to Miss LeBlanc out in the crowd, I want to tell you that I totally disagree with what you're saying. Because we have talked about it around here. We do, just because we don't talk about it at committee and council, doesn't mean that this horseshoe doesn't meet with many different politicians on like a lot of different functions all across Niagara. We do.
For sure. I think the only alarming thing for me, Mr. Mayor, was when I read the final staff report and they had said that they had not received any comments from the municipalities, and that, maybe they did and they didn't include it. I don't know, but that was the only shocking thing for me, that along the whole time there was nothing received from municipalities.
Okay, so those comments are for the mothers and the fathers, mostly, and teachers and residents of a community to make comment. But I assure you that the CAO and I sat in a meeting with the whole ARC delegation at the back of this room, and that we've met with the school board trustees. About the only person that I know that I didn't meet with was the head of DSBN, Warren, and I can't think of his. I can't pronounce his last name, Hashishaki or something like that. I know I didn't, and I wanted to meet with him too as well to express how we felt about closing of our high schools. Councillor Chichuk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I know that there is a motion on the table, but first of all, I need to say thank you very much. Your teachers should be very proud of you. The school system.
Right,
I know. That's actually why I said it. She told me she taught you. So congratulations. That was a very well put together presentation. And other than shaving off a bit of time because you're only given 5 minutes, get the next person to stand in line and give you the other 5.
Yeah, that's what you want to do.
I think you heard me earlier tell the chairman of this region, of this wonderful region called Niagara, that West Lincoln exists, but West Niagara doesn't.
Yes.
And I refuse to listen to people put us into a new catchment area because we're not really into amalgamations unless we all want to do it, and we're not ready to do that. It's not unusual for school boards. They have their own planners, they have their own way of reviewing, they have their own funding, they have their own legislation. They have everything to go to the board and through to the province. But that doesn't mean, and the mayor is absolutely correct, if you need a public display of what this council is going to do, that will happen in a minute. But that is absolutely, I'm sure to say to you that everyone on this committee, on this council, are saying the same thing as what you're saying, is that we need to make sure our community is complete. We have responsibility as a council, and what we do and the kind of housing we build is important so that single-family homes are there, so that children are moving to this town. We can't just have bungalows. We have responsibility to bring jobs here, because then young people will stay, just like the chairman said to us. And those kind of things are how we also help, and we don't often enough say that's why we're doing it. I will say that in looking at the guidelines for the Ministry of Education pupil accommodation review, those guidelines that were issued on October 31st, Halloween 2006, that there is a Ministry of Education administrative review of the accommodation review process. So after this is all said and done, if there's truly a concern for them not paying attention, because when I look at those guidelines, they suggest that open space, value to the community, the only school in the community, that if we look at all of those guidelines, a number of these things are what it is that we would question as to why this accommodation review extricated the school from our community. So, you know, no process is over, much like MERS or anything else we do. No process is over until the final stroke of the pen is done. There's still steps, and I want you to be a good advocate for us in that, as well as our motion in a couple of minutes. So you've got our support. Don't jump to conclusions. We're actually there behind you, and a lot of work is happening behind the scenes.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. I have Councillor Trombetta, then I have Councillor Baalsma, Councillor Bell, and then Councillor Ganan. Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be quick. I know a lot of other members of council like to speak. I just want to say thank you for your presentation, Ms. Shimmy. It was great, and it's an eye-opening to see that you can travel around the world in 4 years. So on a bus, and that's it's a great presentation. So it was a real eye-opener to myself. I just want to say it was a great presentation, and again, I want to say also, like, all these members of council, no one wants this school to close. No one wants to see it leave this community. It's a stamp in this community, and no one wants to see it leave. So I can concur that all the members of this council want the school to stay. I know also other members of council, like myself, have replied to the ARC and sent their comments through, and also some members, having some dialogue with them prior to this meeting starting, have sent their correspondence to the district school board. So we are on your side. We don't want to see this school leave. It's been here for as long as I've been in this community, for as long, I don't know when, how long this school has been. 1954?
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, so, and no one wants to see it leave. It's been in this community, and it's a part of this community, so we don't want to see it leave. I just want to say to just the mayor, I know you said you want to have the resolution later on. I wish we could bump it up so we can, if possible, we can bump it up if that's okay. Through
It is bumped up. It's actually.
Okay, sorry.
We're going to do it in confirmation of minutes 7A.
Okay,
right after this.
Sorry, you just said later on, so I was just
okay.
hoping that,
Yeah.
for the public, they can see this, and again, thank you for your presentation. It was well done. Thank you.
Councillor Bosman.
Yeah, so again, thank you for the presentation. It's very well done. I guess the comment that I want to get on the record is this notion that just because you're part of a smaller school that somehow it's deficient. We live in a technologically advanced age, and it requires some creativity. But the level of education, the quality of education can be done. I graduated from Beanville High, so my interests are with that school. I have a lot of memories there. But before that, I went to a very, very small Christian high school, and 150 students. And those students, by and large, have gone and been very productive in the community. They had many opportunities through cooperative or apprenticeship type programs and the like. There was a little bit more involvement, but I'm absolutely confident that the parents in Smithville would be willing to accommodate some of those inconveniences to make sure that their children still get the broad opportunities that they get in these mega schools, so to speak. I think it's more beneficial to keep the school smaller and use that creative approach than consolidate everything into one mega school, and that has problems too, both socially and for opportunities. It sounds really good on paper. I don't always know that it's so beneficial. So, from the perspective of a smaller school, smaller than average, you have my support. I'm a product of a small high school, and as many of my peers were, so I think it can be done. Just requires a little bit more creative. In fact, it's easier today than when, we won't talk about how long ago in the past that was, but back then, we'll just say that. Thank you.
Councillor Bell, please.
I'd like to just thank you very much, Nicole. That was a great presentation, well thought out, well put together, and mega information. I know you stated earlier that you're a wife, a mother, and a working mother, and raising kids, and the time that you put into this is just phenomenal. And I thank your helpers that helped you put that together. And as was said by other councillors and Mayor Joyner, this council has been there, maybe quietly. We haven't been out there beating the drums, but we've been there quietly. We've been moving it forward. We don't want to see the school leave the community, not at all. We're doing everything we can to keep it here, and we'd like to see the new one built here if at all possible. Never mind down below the hill. So again, sorry, no offense against the other two communities, but hey, again, thank you very much for that presentation, and we will continue to support you, and we do support you.
Great,
Okay,
thank you very much.
Councillor Gannett. Thank you, Councillor.
Well, you know, Nicole, that I'm very proud of you. She's still Nikki. I went to the presentation at the high school, and I was impressed with how well you spoke there, and I talked to you about that afterwards. What impressed me the most is that didn't deter you from continuing on. So I really want to commend you for taking the time to put your Facebook group together, get other people on board, bring them in, help them become aware of what was going on. I did try to support that as much as I could, and I did write my letters. But the presentation that you are going to make, and I hope that many of those parents who've supported you will come out and be there, I think that will have an impact. Already, trustees are starting to say, oh, I didn't know about that, or I didn't have that piece of information. So there's still another month. There'll be your presentation, and then it will be important that people continue to call their trustees or call all of the trustees. You have somebody on board who's been making lots of phone calls, I've been reading. So, I mean, all of that will continue to bring forward. I think tomorrow is the start of a really good fight, because it's not till the end of March when they have to make their decisions. And they will just be elected officials sitting around their horseshoe, their circle, and making those calls. So the fact that you've put so much hard work into it is, I think, really to be commended. So thank you.
I'm going to read something to you, Nicole, and I'm going to give you this piece of paper too as well. It's called Research on School Size. And it says, because the focus on cognitive academic curricula has caused decision makers to ignore social dynamics, large schools contribute to depersonalization, negativism, alienation, and ultimately truancy in dropouts. School size affects students' participation and satisfaction independent of the effects of SES and academic ability. In essence, what they're saying here, there's a whole list of criteria where they say large is not better. Small is actually better. It's more personalized. And I mean, we know the issues with having only 249 kids at South Lincoln High School. But I mean, at the end of the day, who's to blame for that? I believe DSBN is to blame for that. I really do. Because for years now, we've been hearing about this ARC coming to West Niagara. And so parents and students have said, well, I don't want my child to be a part of the ARC. So they just automatically jump ship to the other school board. They should have done something about it a long time ago. And I'm telling you, I'm an alumni too. I went to South Lincoln. My heart's there as well. And I know a lot of other people around this horseshoe. So I'm going to give you this piece of paper. Please take it, and if you can just throw it into take some of the points out of here and put it into your presentation. I think it's real. There's a lot of good background information here too as well to look at. So,
awesome, thank you.
Okay, I'll give this
Check
to you.
with your teacher first.
Don't plagiarize.
Okay, we're going to move on to confirmation of minutes, and as I said earlier, there's a... Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So Councilor Terry Bell
No.
has the resolution? Cheryl does. Okay. Councilor Reyna, did you want to speak? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be here tonight, but I am, I'm going to speak according to Mrs. LeBlanc. Anyways, with regards to the school, I had 4 kids. We lived on a farm on Yonge Street. They went to College Street, and afterwards they had a choice, South Lincoln or Grimsby. And 3 of my kids went down to Grimsby. We then moved to Caister. Those 3 kids moved on. The last one was much younger than the others, and she went to college, and then she went to Caister Central, and then she went to South. Unfortunately, when she was at South, she had a lot of problems. She needed more one-on-one attention. The school couldn't give it to her, and we moved her to Great Lakes Christian High School, which was a small school. There she became very successful. It's an international school. She learned Mandarin, Korean, Cantonese, and became very successful. So I don't really have a lot to say about South Lincoln, but what I do have to say about it is the fact that a town is not a town without a public school and a high school. And I went through Waterford just a little while ago. They have a nice high school in there. And it made me feel good to drive by and see it, because to me, a community is not complete unless they have a public school and a high school. And regardless of the fact that it didn't work out for my family in South Lincoln, it doesn't mean it hasn't worked successful for others and other people it has. So, you know, I have nothing personally against South Lincoln, and I believe that South Lincoln should remain here. I have no problem with that, and I believe a high school should. In fact, when there was discussion about a new high school, I was hoping it was going to come to West Lincoln, because we've already got a new one here with the Catholic school coming down. This would have been probably even a better scenario. Guess what? We've got the school because we've got the space. But then this presentation tonight said it was planned on being built below the escarpment, which kind of took the fire out of that one. But anyways, no, I am very supportive of maintaining a public school and a high school within a community. It's part of the community, and the community it would be extremely void without one. It's like having a town and no grocery store or a gas station. It doesn't make sense. It's part of our. The families stay together. They can walk to school or whatever the case may be. It keeps the community tighter. If not, then, you know, if we lose that, then we've really been labeled a bedroom community, because really all it is they sleep here, and the rest of the time they're not even around, even for education, and that's wrong. So whatever it takes to get the momentum going to get something or retain what we've got, or possibly change their mind and build a new one above the escarpment, you have 100% of my support. I realize council has not said a lot about it, but as the mayor says, that doesn't mean there wasn't a lot going on behind the scene. We respect the people here. We understand the needs of the people here, and sometimes the approach may not be as open as you think it is, but it doesn't mean we're not there.
Thank you, Councilor Reyna, for those comments. You know, I just want to say one thing. The one thing that's never been done is an economic impact study on what it means to have a high school in your community and pull a high school out of your community. That needs to be done, because I think that would really show the benefit of having a high school in your community. Not from just the social fabric, but from an economic point of view too as well. There's an economic impact when you rip a high school out of a community. There very much is, and in so many different ways. And I think the government, the provincial government, needs to spend some money on some kind of study showing that, you know, that somehow do that economic impact study on a high school. So, Councillor?
Mr. Mayor, as part of this study, the value to the local economy must be shown. So if they can't show it, we might, because it's a school as an employer, availability of cooperative education, availability of training opportunities or partnerships with business, attracts or retains families in the community, and the value of the school if it is the only school within the community. So all of that is right in the accommodation review process guidelines as issued by the Ministry of Education. So if we don't see it at the very end of this report, there's a little thing that says, oops, application of accommodation review guidelines, and then it talks about an appeal. So that's why I say if we don't get the right answers, even though they are our friends and they are a different government organization, we may have to take the steps to understand the impact to our community in totality.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. You're absolutely correct. And Nicole, I'm going to say one thing to you and the people that are helping you with this too as well. Much the same as the Green Energy Act, you need to get to Queen's Park. You really, I'm not kidding. I know you're a working mother, you got 2 young children, and you're doing the best you can, but I mean, at the end of the day, you need to go and take your pickets and go to Queen's Park and march there. And there are other communities just like West Lincoln, Grimsby, and Lincoln that are all throughout Ontario that are facing the same closures as we are. You band together, you'll find out who those people are, you know how to do it. You just put it out there, what other communities are facing, the issues that we're facing here in rural West Lincoln, and they'll contact you. They really will. And I mean, you get to Queen's Park, and if you get there and you get on Global and CTV and CBC and you talk to reporters and it gets on the 6 o'clock news, then the province will start to listen. Really, the same as the Green Energy Act. Okay? So.
There is a plan with the Ontario Alliance to go to Queen's Park.
Good. Good.
Thank you for that.
Awesome. You're welcome. Councillor Ganan, you have a resolution?
I do, and it's my pleasure. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Trombetta. Whereas small town/rural Ontario communities face many risks and challenges that are far different than any large city counterparts, and whereas one of the challenges sees small town and rural communities facing closures of schools in their communities, and whereas these potential closures are subject to an administrative school board process called an accommodation review, and whereas there is lack of public trust in the accommodation review process due to their reputation of having predetermined outcomes, and whereas all municipalities strive to be complete communities and education represents an integral component of being a complete community, and whereas education is one of the largest assets that a municipality can provide to its residents in terms of offering quality of life and quality of community, and whereas the continued pressure of accommodation reviews is having an adverse effect on municipalities in the delivery and attraction of other essential services, businesses, and development within their respective communities, and whereas the DSBN will be considering a report which has recommended the closure of South Lincoln High School in Smithville, Township of West Lincoln, as of June 2017. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township of West Lincoln hereby unequivocally confirms that it is officially in opposition to the closure of South Lincoln High School, and that this resolution be forwarded to the District School Board of Niagara and appropriate government agencies and communities as outlined within.
Members of council, comments or questions? Councillor Trombetta.
No, I was just putting my hand to move.
Oh. Okay. Any comments or questions? Seeing none?
Let's do a recorded vote so that we can show the unanimity of this, not because I'm trying to point anybody out, but I see everyone around the horseshoe is looking for it. So there will be a permanent record of this. Unanimity. I don't know, I made it up. Ask the teacher.
Okay, Councillor Bell? Councillor Bilsma?
Yeah.
Councillor Chichok?
Yes.
Councillor Ganan?
Yes.
Councillor Rayner?
Support.
Councillor Trombetta?
Yes.
Mayor Joyner?
In support.
7-0.
It's unanimous. Okay. 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 We'll move on to confirmation of minutes. Council minutes regular read January 23rd, 2017. Councillor Balsma, you have that resolution, please.
I do move by myself and seconded by Councillor Ganan that the minutes of January 23rd, 2017 regular council meeting be accepted.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Balsma and seconded by Councillor Ganan. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. B, public meeting under the Planning Act, read February 13, 2017 minutes, resolution. Councillor Ganan, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chichok that the minutes of the public meeting held on February 13th, 2017 under Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to zoning bylaw amendment, Kimberly Kazenko and James Smith, file number 1601-016-16 be accepted.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Ganan and seconded by Councillor Chichok. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. C, public meeting under the Planning Act, draft new comprehensive zoning bylaw and corresponding amendment to the official plan, February 13th. Councillor Trombetta, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bell that the minutes of the public meeting held on February 13, 2017 under Section 34 and 17 of the Planning Act with respect to zoning bylaw amendment and corresponding amendment to the official plan, Township of West Lincoln, new comprehensive zoning bylaw, file number 1601-04-16 and 1701-01-17, number 47, be accepted.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Trombetta and seconded by Councillor Terry Bell. Is there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. We'll now move on to communications. This was delivered to us through email from Chair Caslin's office. What this is a request for support. It's the Niagara Regional Council's resolution in support of family members of missing persons, namely Niagara resident Ashley Smith. Councillor Rayner, you have that resolution, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chichok that the correspondence from the Office of Regional Chair Alan Caslin dated February 16, 2017, requesting support of a motion adopted by Niagara Regional Council at their meeting of Thursday, February 9, 2017, regarding support of family members of missing persons, namely Niagara resident Ashley Smith, be received and
Received and I'm looking for some. Supported by Councillor Rayner, seconded by Councillor Bell. Any comments or questions? I have asked Chair Caslin to stay here in case you do have any questions. He could help me out with the presentation that we received at Regional Council from the Smith family. Councillor Rayner?
Yes, Mr. Chair, can you update for the rest of us, Mr. Chairman, with regards to this individual as much as you publicly can under restricted Canadian guidelines?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you. So we heard from the family of Ashley Simpson, I believe it is, to the father actually and the mother were present in council chambers and expressed concern about the fact that they could no longer look for their daughter who was still missing because, to be quite candid with you, there was no body found. So Canada doesn't provide for, or the government of Ontario, the government of Canada don't provide for services related to missing people if there is no missing person found. So until that happens, they were on their own ticket. They had to pay for everything themselves. They ran out of money. They lost their jobs looking for their daughter for the weeks and months that they were doing so in BC. Finally had to come back essentially destitute with no more money and begging for support from the governments to allow them to proceed on EI or another form of support so they could continue the search for their daughter who is still at this time missing.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, Councillor?
How long has she been missing?
9 months?
Yeah, about that.
I'm going from memory here, but
So-
9 months?
It's almost a year now, I think. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I can relate to this. My stepdaughter's closest friend was Kristen French.
Come to the mic, please, Councillor.
My stepdaughter's closest friend was Kristen French, and when she disappeared, the police came to the house. They spent hundreds of hours together, binders and binders and binders of pictures of all the years they grew up together. So I can relate to this very clearly. It's a horrific thing to go through, and it's something that you'll never forget. And I really feel for the family because I can imagine what they're going through, having experienced this myself with something very sadistic in this province a number of years ago. Yes, anything that can be done to help this family, they must be going through. Finance is only part of it. The mental stress they're going through far outweighs the monetary. It's unbelievable the stress that they're under, and constantly. They can't eat, sleep, anything. I just wish them the best, and I hope she's found.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Mr. Chair, unanimous. Same as Regional Council. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll move on to B, and I will read this out, and I don't think we have to do anything with this right now, because as we heard, Ms. Nicole Shime is actually pulling the request to have a public meeting. I'll just read it, though. It says, request for Township to hold a public meeting regarding closure of South Lincoln High School, and the list of constituents is Larissa Smith, Kylie Gatehouse, Hillary Lauren, Larissa Smith, Raquel McDonald, David Cowell, Paul Weeb, Stephanie Hare, Daniel Smith, Katie Reese, Tamara Williams, John Shime, Tammy Cowell, Whitney Vandenberg, Holly Killens, and Melissa LeBlanc. Okay, we'll move on to Mayor's remarks. My Mayor's remarks are very, very few tonight. I do want to say that there was a good news story today, actually, that the local high school across the street that was in question here tonight, South Lincoln High School, they have an annual 4-on-4 tournament at the arena, and Little South Lincoln were the champions, actually. They played about 5, 6, maybe 7 games today, and I believe they won them all, and so it is true that a little school can compete with some of the bigger schools. So those are my Mayor's remarks for the month of February. We'll now move to report of committee, Planning, Building, Environmental Committee, February 13, 2017 minutes. Confidential minutes are under separate cover. Councillor Chichuk, you have that resolution, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Trombetta that the minutes of the open session portion of the February 13th, 2017 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted and the recommendations contained therein be approved. And that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the February 13th, 2017 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you, councillors. Moved by Councillor Chichuk and seconded by Councillor Trombetta. Is there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Administration Finance Fire Committee, read February 21st, 2017 minutes. Confidential minutes are under separate cover. This is where the mayor's conflict. We will be pulling A2217 mayor's conflict, and I'll be asking Councillor Rayner to step into the chair to do that. Councillor Bell, do you have that resolution?
Yes. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Trombetta. That the minutes of the open session portion of the Administration Finance Fire Committee meeting held February 21st, 2017 be accepted, and that the recommendation contained therein be approved with the exception of items A22-17. That the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the February 21st, 2017 Administration Finance Fire Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from the public disclosure in accordance with exceptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rayner, can I come up and ask you to deal with A2217?
You want to vote on that first?
You want to vote on this first? Okay, thank you. Is there any comments or questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Do I sign it or does Michael sign it? Okay. That's the one.
As you've heard, the mayor has a conflict of interest, and Councillor Bilsma, you have the next motion with regards to this.
Yeah, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bell that item A22-17 from the February 21st, 2017 Admin, Fire, and Finance meeting be approved. Amendment to budget that report RFDT -417 regarding 2017 corporate sponsorship and cemetery and hall board grants. Amendment to budget dated February 21st, 2017 be received, and that the corporate sponsorship of cemetery and hall board grants for 2017 as recommended in this report be approved, and that a 2017 budget amendment be approved to transfer $2,182 from the corporate promotion budget line to the corporate sponsorship budget line.
Thank you. Members of council, you've heard the motion brought forward by Councillor Bilsma and second by Terry Bell. Is there any comments or questions with regards to members of council with this? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried, and the mayor has due noted that he has a conflict of interest. Okay.
Is that mine? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Rayner. We'll move on to Public Works, Recreation, Arena Committee, February 21st, 2017 minutes. Councillor Trombetta, you have that resolution, please.
Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bell that the minutes of the Public Works, Recreation, and Arena Committee meeting held on February 21st, 2017 be accepted and that the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exception of items PW 10-17.
Thank you, councillors. You've heard the resolution. I know that Councillor Bylsma wants a chance to speak to this. The item that he's asking to pull is PW 10-17. Am I correct in that, councillor? Okay, go ahead. You have the floor.
No.
Yeah, and then we move on that one separate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So is there any comments or questions other than PW 10-17? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Go ahead, councillor.
Just to the clerk, do I present the motion now? Okay. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chichok that item PW 10-17 from the February 21st, 2017 Public Works, Rec, and Arena Committee meeting be approved. Item PW 10-17 that Council hereby endorses and reconfirms its support of the presentation by Hank Huitema of the MERS RFP as presented on January 23rd, 2017, and the budgeted cost, project timelines, and fundraising targets approved in the 2017 budget, and that Council hereby confirms that all previous motions and actions that are inconsistent with the above be and are hereby considered to be superseded and or repealed.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Bylsma and second by Councillor Chichok. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor Bylsma.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. Again, just a couple cursory comments. There's obviously a lot of passion and a lot of emotion regarding the MERS project. A lot of that was very apparent to those in attendance and watching the Public Works meeting of last week. So I want to bring some resolution on this. It's important that we still maintain a vision of even in our disagreements. So I want to start by saying MERS is too expensive. There are main reasons why this is true. It's too expensive for this community. In the 2016 budget, this council approved a deficit or a debenture to fix and repair the bridge number 12 on Grimsby Road 6. We have 90 structures in bridges and culverts and of the like, of various sizes. The one on bridge 12 on Grimsby Road 6 is about average. And I find it very disconcerting that we had to go in and issue a debenture to repair something that should be part of our regular, projected capital expenditures. So that's the first reason why I think MERS is too expensive. We're not maintaining our bridges and our roads in-house, so to speak. We have to go outside to other lenders to pay for something that I think should be done in-house. The second thing is the tax increase. MERS is too expensive. The tax increase is proving it's too expensive. It's too large. A 15% increase, 15.5% increase for an amenity in our community is proof that the MERS is too expensive. And the third indicator that the MERS is too expensive is that it is being proposed to be amortized across 30 years. That's way too long. It will conflict with maintenance schedules and the like. For those three reasons, I think it's fair to say that MERS is too expensive for our community. I also want to acknowledge, and I want people to think about things that have changed since the last election. Now, Mayor, you campaigned for this project, and you won. Fair enough. Twice. However, in the interest of the community who are sitting there and they're upset, you did not campaign for a $23.7 million project. The proposal that was on the books at the time of the last campaign was for $12 million and change, about 12 and a half. So this is, the project that's before us today is double that price. Also, I think it's fair to say that you did not campaign to raise taxes 15.5% to pay for it. If you had, I am pretty confident that you would not have won the election. So I'm not asking for your agreement. I'm just saying that these are facts that have to be acknowledged. Another change since the last election is what brought many people here today was the potential closing of South Lincoln School. This is very concerning for our community. We are at the 11th hour on this. You know, we're coming down to the last month, and it's a new development. I know that there's been talk of it, as you have said, across the last number of years, but here we're at this point. And I think it's fair to say that this community is concerned about the livelihood of the community. Their concerns are not spending a huge amount of money on a MERS when the pressing issue is just to keep our high school open here. So that's a change since the last election. So there have been developments. And the fourth change that I would like to point out since the election is the good news that we received last week regarding the funding of the library in Wellingport. This is good, and it has allowed us to, in my opinion, buy some time. This is in line with the study that was taken, the court study that was taken with respect to the library. So those are things that have changed since the last election. I want to point out that if we proceed with the MERS project as in its current form, we are committing to more than just the proposal for the site in our town core. We are actually committing to the type of growth and development necessary to fund the project. In other words, if we proceed with this, the development charges that are necessary to fund the project are of a magnitude that my concern is that we are then in bondage, or we have to meet a certain minimum amount of development in order to meet our obligations with respect to the debenture that we're going to issue for the MERS project. So that puts development or developers in the driver's seat, so to speak, and not us. And I do not want this council to, in that sense, give up the control of the development of our community and I think that, for example, if we have a recession, then what are we compelled to do? Somehow offer incentives, or in order to meet the targets that we have commit to year by year to pay for the MERS in the DC category, the DC fund of this. Or, and it's been pointed out to me many times, projected growth numbers are wrong. And they can be wrong in both directions. Obviously, we take issue with the growth numbers that the DSBN is putting forward for our community. But on the flip side, having too eager of a expectation can also get us into trouble. So one set of numbers is elected representatives in our community are using to justify closing a school, and then another set of numbers is ones that we're using to justify this very large project. And with respect to the development, I don't think we will find anyone in this community or in this room who think that what has happened to Binbrook has been a model for our community. Binbrook exploded. Now they're going back through and trying to, patch up the stop gaps. And we as a council want to be in the driver's seat when it comes to development, not being compelled to do things because we have allegiances, and the allegiance to the MERS being one of them. So I want the council and the community to know that the focus of my effort from now on will be to represent the whole of my constituents' concerns, and will consist in the following modification or adjustment to the MERS project. Here it is. It's very simple, that we build only the arena phase at this time. That we commit to build only the arena phase at this time. It's simply all that I think is necessary to provide a coherent moving forward from this point. I've identified 10 advantages for this simple build only the arena phase at this time. Number one, library services, as I mentioned, have increased in West Lincoln. If we look at our community holistically, the development in Wellandport is good for West Lincoln as a whole. This is progressive, and with the upgrade in Wellandport, we have bought, in my opinion, time. So that's why I'm in favor of the arena phase being fronted and proposing that. It's not a recommendation this evening. I just want to say that it's not a recommendation this evening. I would like all the council and the community to consider what I'm presenting here. Secondly, with the potential closing of the high school, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of a moot point, but even with it there are 5 single gyms. My mistake. There are 4 single gyms and 3 double gyms available in the urban boundary of Smithville at this time. And it doesn't include gymnasiums in the outlying areas or on the ag grounds. So the gym portion of the phase is, in that sense, I think, very redundant in our community. All the work that has been done to date on this project will remain valid. We will be shovel ready for future phases to advance at any time that future councils deem it's necessary to do. But we don't have to undo anything that has already been done. All the work, the heavy lifting, the dialogue will remain valid. So here's kind of the unique caveat with one of the unique advantages of what I'm proposing. We repurpose the current arena. I think this is going to be key to seeing the benefit of what I'm proposing. We repurpose it to be a turf arena. Now this idea is something that Councillor Trombetta and I had kicked around at one time. We saw merit in it, and I think it's going to be the key to seeing this a big advantage in this. The current arena, and I think we need to be careful. There was a comment made in the paper that the current arena is unsafe, and we recognize that that's not necessarily true. It's on its last legs. We talked about the floor and the equipment, but it's not unsafe. If we repurpose it as a 4 seasons turf type floor, indoor soccer, there's a lot of sports that are looking for turf domes. I know one just recently closed in Grimsby, but the real unique thing about turf domes is that a lot of them are actually privately funded. In other words, the business plan for a turf dome is profitable enough for the private sector to get involved. We would be unique in the fact that, it's well known that arenas are not. They're heavily subsidized by taxation. But we would be positioned to have a facility that's actually quite unique in, to use the term, West Niagara, and maybe attracting people to our community, our corner of West Niagara. Now, my understanding of DCs is such that if we were to repurpose the existing arena and build a new arena, that either in the new build or in the combination of both, that DCs can be increased, because somewhere in there there's a newness, there's an advancing of, because DCs are charged on advancing a community in its amenities and roads and infrastructure. So I think that there may be an advantage in the DC category with respect to what I'm proposing, which is to repurpose the old arena, which can still have many, many spins yet as a facility. By doing this, it keeps us as councillors in the driver's seat with regards to our development. We won't be a slave then, I believe, to development, because we're scaling back the project and we're taking a much more measured approach to the way we approach this. I think that this will also align closer to what the public heard from yourself during the campaign, because this is very similar to the proposal that was on the table back when you campaigned. It still shows our vision for the whole site. All the work that's been done can still be there. We will be shovel ready, and so in that sense the overall vision can still be valid. I think around this council then we could walk away with a job well done. In this term, we've accomplished great things. We were not stagnant. Certainly we've had a lot of passion and emotion, but I think we could come out of this term, this 4-year term, and say, well, we had a balanced approach. We got some increase in our library, we got some infrastructure, the bridge knocked off, and we got what I'm proposing, an arena built. And I think that's quite a bit for a small community of our size. I think we're hitting above the belt, so to speak. So that's something that we can be proud of as councillors around this horseshoe. And another benefit is it replaces the most necessary part of our amenities the soonest, while getting a few more years out of our other facilities that are still being used. That's not to say in any way, shape, or form that they're not necessary at all. It's just saying that we can stretch some of the other amenities that are proposed in the MERS. But our arena, as we well know, has this decaying floor. And year by year, we cross our fingers and pump brine through it and hope it makes another season. That's the amenity that is most crucial, I think, to what we're trying to accomplish with MERS. And then finally, the number 10 advantage, and there may be more. These are some that I have been thinking over and mulling over, but we're shovel ready. If perhaps funding should materialize from one of the other sources of government for a particular next phase of the MERS as a overall vision and site for that plan, we would be ready, and we could capitalize on that. We wouldn't have to bear. Right now, the current project is compelling us to bear the whole burden in this community, and if we just took a measured approach. So, I want to. That's the conclusion of my. I appreciate you all indulging me. I guess as an olive branch, in the spirit of compromise and the spirit of providing a dialogue, I would be willing to approve this motion that was before us, the recommendation that came forward in the Public Works, the recommendation is now before us again, in the spirit of allowing my other council members to consider what I have put forward. If they have questions for me, we can have this dialogue after. Obviously, some can happen now, but I'd be willing, in the spirit of trying to find a compromise on this issue, be willing at this time to support the recommendations, which are basically, so I'm just going to reiterate, I can support, where did I put that? Pardon me for a second. I have it here.
Councillor, I'll be looking for a new resolution, actually. Not I'll be looking for an amendment. It'll have nothing to do with this one here. It'll be a new resolution. Do you have that prepared?
where did I just put it? Oh, I handed that in. So the one that's before us right now is the one that was floated by the CAO that was adopted. But basically it says that, and I've said this right from the beginning, the overall vision I have no problem with. Phasing, the expense, the rush, the urgency, those are things that I've had challenges with, and I think I've addressed that here today. But the overall vision and the fact that this is what's before us, I can support that. That doesn't bind me for future decisions. When the time for tender comes in, I'm hoping that we can have this fulsome discussion. But for the sake of this council, I think it's important for me to express what I'm looking for, so that we're all on the same page. That way, when I speak, you'll have an understanding. So I think that was important to get on the, because there's been a lot of politicking, and there's been a lot of even gerrymandering and those kind of things, and it's part of vigorous debate. But at the end of the day, we can't fight something with nothing, and so I think that this is something of valid.
So, Councillor, I get it. I understand where you want to go. I'm looking for a resolution from you.
Well, it's at this point, if we vote on what's before you.
No, that's not how it works, sir. You have to bring forward an amendment, because you're looking for something that's totally different than what sits before me here. Even the very fact that you call it just an arena doesn't necessarily call it a MERS, because MERS stands for multi-use recreation site. You don't want to build anything of the sorts. You want to build just an arena. So you have to come up with a new resolution. It's an amendment to this. Get it duly seconded, and then we'll have question and comment on that.
I'm not agreeing with that analysis, and the reason being is I've pulled a motion that was already presented.
To speak about it, yes.
To speak about it. Mm-hmm. So I spoke.
Yeah, and you're contrary.
And so then, correct, I've spoken about it, but in the flavor of dialogue, I made some additional comments, which I think clarify the position. But we are going to, this is not the final vote on MERS. We're going to have a tender come in, and we're going to have some discussion. But I think that the community has also expressed a very, very deep concern, so that if we, as a council, just take heed to what I had said, then perhaps around this horseshoe, we might find a concession. Only doing, this is key to understanding, only doing the arena at this time does not disqualify any of the work that we have done on the MERS.
Except, sir,
would you agree?
No, I wouldn't, sir. Not at all. Because you don't understand the process, because the process is that we've sent out an RFP asking for an arena, for a gymnasium, for a library, for a splash pad, for a skateboard park. We've all put those already in the RFP. So you are totally contrary. I know where you want to get to, but it's incumbent of you as the councillor, because you're not in favor of this reaffirmed resolution, is incumbent on you to bring forth an alternate or an amendment to this particular resolution. You're not going to take what you're looking for, your vision, and attach it to this resolution. That's not how it works, councillor. And procedurally, I can ask to get the clerk to explain that to you.
This resolution that's before us.
Yes, sir.
Is, how would you say, a confirmation of the work that has been done.
That's correct. That's what the CAO was asking for. Approved that budget.
And so, but right from the get-go, there was, in the proposed Plan B, there was phasing, which allowed us to take a step approach to this project.
Not exactly.
So I'm saying that we can build or look at building the arena section of that proposal.
Sir, Councillor, I totally understand. You don't have to go back and explain it to me.
I don't understand where the conflict is.
The conflict is that you're totally on the other side of what this resolution says. You have to bring an amendment. So give me some words as to what you want to say. Say something to the effect that an amendment to item PW 1017, that at this particular time, well, first of all, I wish to not continue on with the RFP, because that's already in play. So I don't wish to continue with the RFP, and that I wish to only build at this time the arena only. And then we can have dialogue on that, once you get a seconder.
The reason I don't want to do that at this time is I don't think we have all the information.
Well, no, sir, we do have all the information. We've had the information since all the recreation master plan feasibility studies that we've done over the last 7 years. We have all the information.
We don't know a lot of things. We don't know our project. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's premature to, first of all, my little discourse here was new to all the councillors. Now, perhaps there are some councillors who thought that there were maybe some clever ideas in there. Perhaps not. But at the end of the day, I'm making that as a, how would you say? I'm putting thoughts out there, part of the discussion.
So, Councillor, I get it, what you're trying to do. I understand what you're trying to get to. So give me an amendment to it. I'll get a seconder, and then ask for comments or questions.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I won't put an amendment forward.
I'm not trying to be a barrier here. I'm procedurally just trying to do the proper thing.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because again, this is very important that we do this right. I've said that many, many times. I will be bringing forward a properly constructed amendment to a debate that will take place in the future when the RFP comes back on the table for discussion.
In April?
Yep.
Okay.
I can wait till then.
Okay.
No problem.
Can I really don't have anything on the floor to talk about right now, other than this, but I did ask for question and comment, and I allowed Councillor Bosma. So I do have Councillor Trombetta.
If I had my hand up before Councillor Trombetta, I wanted to speak to this item because I intended to pull it.
That's not who I saw. I saw Councillor Trombetta, then Councillor Chichuk, and then Councillor Rayner. And then Councillor Ganand.
I think we all going to want some dialogue on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just listen to Councillor Bosma there, and nothing to take away from Councillor Bosma. He's got points that he wants to put across, and he's just speaks passionately, and there's nothing against that at all. A couple things, though, I just kind of just makes me think, and I've said this, and with Councillor Bosma now saying he wants the arena, it just goes to show that this community, my opinion, is that this community wants everyone in this community, I would say a good percentage of this community wants a component of the MERS. Okay? Some people want certain components of the MERS. Where we got to come together as a council is to see where we can meet the needs of all these residents of this community. And like I said, Councillor Bosma just proved it that he's in favor of an arena. And like I said, there's other people that just want a walking track, and there's other people that just want a splash pad, and then there's other people that just want a library. There's many people in this community, and I'd say a big, vast majority want a component of this MERS. And where we got to come to as a council as a whole is to figure out what's the best solution, and that's coming in the future. You touched upon the library in Wellandport. The library in Wellandport, it wasn't just created yesterday. The library in Wellandport was years. And the price back then, years ago, it's probably quadruple the cost now to do it now. Yeah, we got a grant, but the library didn't get done years ago, previous councils, and it was put on the back burner, and now the taxpayers are paying triple or quadruple the amount for the library because it was delayed. The arena only on this time, yes, it's a cost, but again, you have to think about the Wellandport Library. If you delay it, what's it going to be the cost for the taxpayers 5-10 years from now for a new library or for a new splash pad? It's going to be quadruple the amount, just like triple the amount that Wellandport Library is now. Again, and we've discussed this before, this is a design build. They might come back at the design build and say, you know what, due to costs, the cost of inflation and cost of steel and whatever, they might come back and say, we got to build the arena first. That might come, again, this is a design build. That'll have to come to council, and we'll have to decide. And then later on, the phase in, and when we say phase in, later on, there's the other components of this project. But again, this is a design build. And again, the experts are going to come tell us what they've proposed to us and what are the best measures as a community. And as a council, we're going to have to come together and decide what is best. Nothing to say that let's do the arena first and put everything on the back burner. Again, they might come say, listen, I know I'm repeating myself, cost, it's more feasible to do it first. Again, so once the RFP comes back, that's when we're going to have a fulsome discussion. I think a lot of this is preliminary now. We did it last week. I just want to make people in their mind think that you put stuff on the back burner, it costs the taxpayer more money later down the road. And that's a thing. You know, things have been delayed, and now we're in 2017, and we're paying 2017 prices instead of 1990s prices, and it's a lot. So I just want everybody to consider that now. You might be a tough decision now, but it's also a decision for the future as well. So again, we're really preliminary now. Let's wait as a council when the RFP comes back, and we'll have a great wholesome discussion. A lot of these reports will be coming to committee for us to discuss on. That comes forward, okay, from the subcommittee. Will be coming forward to the committee. And again, let's work as a group here together, and let's see what the future has what the future holds for us as a council. So, I know you guys would like to have some more dialogue. I guess other people want to speak to this. So again, just like I said, everyone, we're really preliminary here. Let's not get so technical at this moment, because we're going to get a chance to get really technical as the months come ahead. So,
Agreed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Rayner.
Hello.
Or did I say
No, you
okay,
said
sorry, Councilor Chichuk, and
then you look
go ahead,
way down
Councilor
and you
Chichuk.
see
It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've listened, and I think I understand what Councillor Bilesma is wanting to do, and my comments aren't to take away from his, but to give my perspective, and I don't want to argue with anyone here about double, quadruple, or anything. I think that what we're looking at is trying to ensure that we have a way forward that is measured, is carefully laid out, and that we don't have any more uncharacteristic discussion at this table. It may be that we're going to be too expensive. It may be that it isn't. We may choose other methods of funding. The time to decide on what we build, how we build it, how we fund it, whether it's 15.2% overall, is going to happen, but it's not going to happen tonight. It's going to happen when we evaluate the RFP. And I think for that reason, some of what we're talking about is very premature here this evening. And in fact, the option to keep the existing arena open as a indoor turf field is another discussion that could be had much later. It's an additional feature that we haven't even discussed yet. So I would think that I appreciate what some of the people around the table are saying, but I think that what we should be looking at is, and shovel ready is good, and I think that when the RFP comes back, we will know lots of things. We will be clear on a number of things. And what I wanted to do, Mr. Mayor, was I actually wanted to pull the item just to make sure that we were going to show people that my questions to the CAO, I was worried that they weren't captured in the minutes sufficiently, and I wanted to make sure that we put on the record that there was a clear ask about whether or not we could ask our questions when the RFP came back. And the CAO, and I won't put words in his mouth, said, through you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. CEO.
He said it. He said yes.
Yes.
That's great.
Questions can be asked when the RFP comes back in April.
That's exactly. I guess I have, because I have a number of questions, I don't want to surprise anybody with what it is, so I'm going to say the two things, and that is that the CAO and I have had discussion about a generator and at least getting a price on what it would cost to prepare, just like we did for any other servicing, to get a price to put all the piping in, because it cost us a fortune to put a retrofit a generator, and it might be advisable if we were able to get a price, a subsequent price that would tell us what it would cost to have a generator in that facility. I also think, and we talked about that, it's not a surprise. And
it's not, but it's already included in the RFP.
And that was the question, and that was the answer. And the only other thing, Mr. Mayor, was that, and I'm sure anybody who's bidding on this would be able to, and I'll show you where I'm going with this, is to talk about a LEEDs building. LEEDs is too expensive. Whether we go bronze, gold, platinum, those buildings are very expensive. But the fact that we ask for each of those proponents to give us an understanding of their energy conservation in the building they're putting, and we could offer bonus points in any kind of evaluation we do, is an important point for us to put to those people, because in answering their questions now, it would be very appropriate for them to tell us how they would move towards a LEEDs or an Energy Star, an energy efficient building.
Did you ask the CAO that question? Can I ask him now that to see if it is LEEDs? If we've ever talked about LEED certified?
We have not talked about LEED certified.
Oh, okay, didn't think so.
Because I think that would be far too costly. But the idea of looking at getting an understanding
of the efficiencies.
It would be silly for me to wait. And I thought about my list of questions. I ran through them this weekend. If we waited till the RFP came back, this is not something that they have to do special. While they're doing their building, while they're doing their planning, they can attribute what they believe are energy conservation measures that they would include in their building that we would then be able to evaluate once the RFPs are back. And this would be the more appropriate. And I say that because while I've talked about it, I didn't ask the question.
Okay.
And I don't want to hold up the process when it comes back. My other questions can easily be addressed or answered, I believe, at that time. But for that reason, Mr. Mayor, and in looking at the questions, I looked at and knowing we can ask questions and knowing that we can do a cost review, and quite honestly, looking at the information that our staff have given us, we've actually not yet hardened our position on where some of the funding is going to come from. We've given ourselves options. That's not bad. That's good. So when it comes down to the RFP being awarded, we have Mr. Philippus's numbers, and I'm not going into that tonight. I'm saying that there's options there for us to look at that still leave us with opportunities to look at the additional infrastructure we have on a to-do list. But my question would be this, and Councillor Trombetta at the end of the last Planning and Public Works meeting said that the work of his committee was largely complete because most everything was going to be coming. In fact, everything was the comment he made was coming to Planning and Public Works and Recreation. It's not planning. I read that somewhere. It's Public Works. So when we issue a tender, and we issue it for a bridge, we have our staff establish a set of criteria to evaluate all the RFPs, whether it's a bridge or a fire truck or whatever we're going to buy. And that criteria is what comes back to this council to get approved. And we put the weighting on the criteria. We say 50%, the staff recommend maybe 50% of the criteria for buying that fire truck is going to be for cost. 20% is going to be for color, 30% is going to be for the availability of the truck and how quickly it will be there.
You're correct.
We put our hand up and we say, yes, we'll go with that criteria, or we change it.
Based on staff's recommendation.
Correct. So here's what I want to make sure, and I'm saying this out of abundance of clarity and caution and desire to see us work together. And that is that our staff, that's okay, I know, that our staff should develop that set of criteria and bring it forward to us as quickly as possible, even if we had to have a special meeting and a special council meeting, so that we could see that RFP criteria We could bring it forward to a committee and council prior to opening the tenders, and it's a two envelope tender. So we would be excluded, because that's the way we do tenders. We establish the criteria, or we agree that that's the criteria to use. They do the evaluation, and we are the adjudicators to ensure that they've made the correct evaluation. We stay out of the work of the staff, and then when they send it back to us, duly evaluated by them and our project manager, but our staff and the project manager, then it's presented to us where we then do our evaluation, and we get to vote on whether or not we agree or want to monkey doodle with something.
So, Councillor, didn't you just outline our procurement policy as it stands today?
Well, that's because I wanted to make sure we were not moving away from our procurement policy. And
why would we?
I don't know. But I wanted to make sure that we were not going to in any way upset or concern anybody out in the audience, out in the cyber world, at this table, or anybody and Councillor Trombetta and I have spoken about it, and I wanted to make sure that that was a process we're following, because there was some difficulty in some people's minds out there as to what we were going to do. So, you know what? If we've clarified it, that's what we're doing here tonight. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And so if we're following our procurement policy, it won't go to the advisory committee, whether it's a quorum or not. We won't have any arguments.
No.
The staff are doing it. It's coming back here. It'll happen here, and the staff will do it. So
I understand you're lying out in advance the process that we're going to follow.
I'm trying to put that out there so that no one's going to say that there's backroom anything going on.
I gotcha.
Do you understand?
Yeah, we wouldn't do that.
We wouldn't. We would never do
We're not
that.
allowed to do that.
That's very correct. So now we've just outlined what it is we're going to do. It's in keeping with every tender we do, and there should be no reason for any member of the public, committee, council having any difficulty in understanding that we're following our process. Hold on, there was one other thing.
Okay.
Oh, the only other thing, the question I had, and I don't want to leave it, was that this council committee, wherever we get it, that could we be provided before the tender is open? I understand that there is a new process for rental agreements, for pricing of ICE for our biggest user groups, and I would like to see what we have already. It is my understanding that it's out there, because a couple of user groups have said that they've been made unaware of it. I'm not trying to make an issue. I just think it would be great to see it so we understand what's going on, because I believe in one of these pricing things we talked about money coming in.
We're not sure what you're talking about, Councillor. I don't know of a staff report coming saying that there's an increase in ICE rentals.
Well, okay, then.
Although it's happened in the past, but
So
it's not inconceivable.
No.
It's not inconceivable we raise the dog licenses either. So
It certainly isn't, have we? I got 4 dogs. No. Actually, I don't have 4 dogs. But regardless of what is going on, I'm just saying that if we are timely and we can assure that staff are bringing this to council and committee for additional information as quickly as possible, I think that gets rid of another boogeyman, which is that there's stuff out there. So sometimes you ask the question because you know the answer. So bear with me. I'm doing it for a reason, because I want it all on the table now. We're not going to have anybody, we shouldn't have any arguments at this table about what's out there. So, Mr. Mayor, other than, hold on, I made notes. No, everything else is contained in that. I believe that the sources, the funding, all of the decisions we have to make, we've come down the road this far. Shovel ready means that if there's a grant, we'll take it. If we're not, we'll make a decision on what we're going to build, what we can afford to build when the RFP in its entirety is before us in the process that we've just talked about. Thank you very much.
thank you, Councillor. The CAO just has a couple of supplemental answers.
Your Worship, 2 members of council, I'll make this real quick. I believe there's both 3 or 4 comments or questions that were asked, and I'll just answer it very quickly. One was with respect to energy efficient services. We're not doing LEED. There is a section in the RFP. The RFP is available if you'd like to review it, where they're going to have to identify the energy efficient services that they're providing. And again, there's going to be on a scaling and a scoring chart in terms of what services are going to be provided. Second, there was discussion about how this was going to be funded. To my understanding, I believe it was that budget in a report, we were either going to use gas tax money at 420 or we're going to use community fund. And it was approved by council at that time to use community fund money at 420. The third comment was with respect to tender and the process of what's next and next steps. It would always be administrative process that we do not conflict or disregard our current purchasing policy that we have and how we report back to council, where it would be in a fulsome discussion at committee via report by administrative staff. And that would be coming April 18th, I believe, at the Parks and Recreation Committee. So there's no differ in terms of what we're doing that. And the last one was, I believe I understood, was an ice rental increase or scheduling. I don't know anything of that. So whatever information that is out there, that there's a draft one going on, or I'm not aware. It is going to be administrative's direction that we're going to be sitting down with the user groups once this is confirmed, so we can identify exactly what is being built, so we can obviously relay that back to the user groups. I know a lot of user groups are willing to participate in the fundraising and being involved in the community. So before that even happens, staff will be meeting potentially with them in August, September of this year to go over their wish list in terms of user times, et cetera, and reporting back with specific and updated policies. But with respect to any policies that are floating out there that might be conflicting what currently is on our books, I'm not aware of that. Okay. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Mr. Rayner, or Councilor Rayner, please.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation by Councilor Bylsma. He took a lot of time and effort to put it together. I appreciate the fact that other councillors have listened to him and allowed him to speak. But unfortunately, the bottom line of this situation is there's really nothing at this point that we can do or should do until the RFP comes back. Because I believe it was clearly stated by the CAO last week that when the RFP comes, that committee and council has the right to do three things. They can either accept it as it is, they can change it and accept it, or they can turn it all down. So they have three choices. And that, to me, is going to be the defining time as to what direction we go in. The comments from Councillor Bylsma are duly noted, and he spent a lot of time doing the research on it. Other members have different ideas, but I think, like anything else, when we can actually put a dollar figure to what a lot this is going to be the big decision is what can we really afford. So I'm looking forward to the RFP to see it. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CAO, when the RFP comes back, will that be a complete breakdown? I mean, the total package will be put down that it's going to cost X number of millions of dollars. But are they going to break it down, that the arena costs this much, the community center costs this much, everything, in order to add it up to that total?
Mr. CAO.
Your Worship, through the Mayor's Council, correct.
That is correct?
Yes.
Okay. Also, through you to the CAO, the arena that's being built, is it basically the same size configuration as the one that a number of us seen when we did the tour August the 15th, 2015 in Cayuga?
Your Worship, through the Members of Council, correct.
Okay. Was there not, through you to the CAO, was there not a community center within that facility?
Your Worship, through the Members of Council, the one in Cayuga had a smaller banquet hall upstairs. I believe the one in Dunnville, if you remember, it was on the main floor.
That's why I'm asking this, because some of the things that Councillor Bylsma said, especially with the Wellandport situation going through, takes some pressure off the library and buys time. But the question I want to know is, basically for the councillors, and there was the vast majority of us went through a number of arenas. I believe they were ours, they were Wainfleets, they were Lincoln, they were Dunnville, they were Cayuga. Did I miss any? I think that was the works. The Cayuga one, at least to me, and I believe that's why was the most impressive, So when it comes back, you're talking the community center would be an addition, through you to the CAO, would be in addition to the actual building that does have a smaller facility within it at this present time?
Mr. CAO?
Your worship, members of council, the community hall would be a small footprint within there. Are you talking the gymnasium
Yeah, the
area?
gymnasium
The
and all.
gymnasium is a completely separate
And that
building.
would be,
Then it would be then that community, little community center that you saw there. Yes.
and again, through you, Mr. Mayor, that will be costed out separately, so.
Correct.
So everything basically will be itemized as we go right through it, and we can do exactly as the CAO said. We can accept it, we can change it or modify it, or we can say the whole thing doesn't make sense and we don't take it at all. So those options are still open. So I think it's important for the public to understand that the opinions have been made. People have taken the stand on which side they believe in, but this is far from over. The big one to me, the deciding thing, will be when the RFP comes back and how committee and how council decides in the best interest of the taxpayers of this township to which we've been elected to represent, what is the best direction we should go. And to me, that won't happen until I have concrete numbers in front of me. I think that's the big deciding factor, and at this point, we all know where we stand, but I think we're all very open-minded. And again, I thank council tonight for allowing Councillor Bylsma to make his presentation. He spent a lot of time and effort into it. We may not necessarily agree with it all, but it certainly is something that we have time to think about, and it won't be until April that we can put all our thoughts together and come up what we feel is the best decision. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Councillor Gannan, then Councillor Bell.
Okay, just a couple of things. One, I would like to just clarify the library issue, and that is we are not able to build a library equivalent to Casterville in Wellandport. The grant money was for retrofit, so we can certainly improve that library, build a new end, but it also will look at doing some renovations to the hall. So it isn't quite the same. We will buy more space, but we certainly aren't going to get the equivalent to what we need. In regards to that, too, I would just like to say that the Smithville Library is the one that is also greatly in need of space for programming, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But just to clarify also what Councillor Bylsma said, and I know how passionate he is. I've been sitting beside him hearing a lot of that, so I know how he feels. And he referred to Binbrook. So let me just say one thing about Binbrook. They spent so long as they were growing, talking about what they were going to do with the library, that by the time they put a tender out last summer in August to build the library that they're building, the one that they're constructing is already too small for the community that has grown. So that's my library bit. The other thing I would like to say, though, is I do agree with Councillor Bylsma in that he's felt very strongly all along that there needed to be much more discussion. So as a new person here, I was sort of wondering, and maybe I'm out of line, but I don't know if council gets to have a look at what the waiting is when we're before the tenders are open. Will that report come to committee and then to council, Mr. CAO, so that we have an idea what staff and what Mr. Kujima is looking for in terms of?
Just to clarify process, what will occur is that staff will open it up, obviously with the project manager that we've hired, Mr. Hank Kudima, to sit down with staff. Staff will have their own evaluation process in terms of scoring. Usually that scoring is based on the project manager, hence why we hired him with his expertise and his years and years of service. So this isn't his first evaluation form of doing a multi-use rec site. He's been well diverse in this field. So again, staff is an administrative tool right now to sit down with the project manager, come up with a scoring sheet that's going to be evaluated. That is then going to be presented and recommended to council, just like any other tender would be.
So that report will come.
Correct. The report will come. There's most times we say in the email, if there's some scoring, you can see the attachment. Usually, it's based on the criteria that staff's recommending. Hence why, you hire a project manager, you have a CAO, and you have a director. But there's going to be a fulsome discussion in terms of how we got to the scoring, and how it was identified, and how the final numbers were arrived to, and that'll be presented to council prior to, just like what we do with any agenda, prior to the April 18th agenda, to have a fulsome discussion at the committee level.
Councillor, are you done, Councillor? Okay, thank you. Councillor Bell, please.
Just a couple of quick comments. Councilor Bilsma talked about phasing in. It's clear that we're phasing in 217, 218, 219. That was a phase-in period. He also talked about growth. I got the impression growth was a bad thing from Councilor Bilsma. Growth is a good thing, and I've heard members of this council say that growth pays for growth. That's what we get, and that's what we're doing. We are growing, we are expanding, so yeah, growth is paying for growth. He also referred to the district school board and the numbers they used and how they're outdated. No doubt they're using 2011 numbers. We're basing our facts on 2016 numbers. So I think there's a big difference between the numbers you're using and what we're using. He also talked about a turf arena. We have discussed the old arena in the past. I know it was said we haven't, but we have talked about repurposing that arena, and because of the shape that it's in, it was decided not to repurpose it because of the cost. And then you made the statement that while private sector finds turf domes / arenas very profitable, well, possibly in the future we could get a private sector to build us one over at the Leisureplex. So I just wanted to clarify them couple of points. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. I will now see no more questions or comments. I will call the vote. All those in favor? Do you want me to read it again? Okay. Moved by Councillor Balsma, second by Councillor Chichuk, that item PW 1017 from the February 21st, 2017 Public Works Recreation Arena Committee meeting be approved. Item PW 1017 says, the Council hereby endorses and reconfirms its support of the presentation by Hank Hudema of the MERS RFP as presented on January 23, 2017, and the budgeted cost, the project timelines, and the fundraising targets approved in the 2017 budget. And the Council hereby confirms that all previous motions and actions that are inconsistent with the above be and are hereby considered to be superseded and or repealed. Seeing no more questions or comments, I will be looking for a vote. You say you want it recorded? What?
No, I just, that I did not see that presentation. I wasn't here on the 23rd. I was on vacation.
Oh, okay, yes.
So I don't look on it because I didn't see the presentation. That's good.
The presentation was...
You said there was a presentation.
Well, Mr. CAO, please explain them what was the presentation on the 23rd?
Your Worship, through the members of council, it was just a timeline of events that took place through a series of resolutions and recorded votes with council in terms of how we got to here we are today.
Which you did. You were here last week. Yeah, you did it last week.
Correct. It was last week. It was just a reminder that at budget time, this amount was approved to go ahead with it. It was a timeline, a recap of a timeline and how we got to where we are today.
Well, you just mentioned that Hank, and I thought you did something.
Well, he did. Hank did do something too. He did a presentation too as well, but he himself was basically doing the reconfirmation of what has proceeded to this point, to get to this point. Okay. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And of the reconfirmed, the same motion that we had. No, we're not discussing it anymore. All in favor? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's unanimous. Thank you. There was no trick there. Okay, so... Okay, we are definition for reconsideration and a definition for notice of motion to rescind is there for your viewing pleasure. Members of council remarks, starting my right, Councillor Bell? Councillor Balsma? I'm good. Councillor Ganan?
I just want to say what a good time it was walking for the coldest night of the year when we were all there. The mayor led a team, and Councillor Chichok brought along a family member, I brought along a family member, and the librarians actually supported it quite well, and we raised close to $3,000 for the coldest night.
Yeah.
So that was good. So, and the other thing I just wanted to say, I know I harp on libraries a lot, but the reports that come to council are 2 and 3 months old in terms of how the library is used. So I just want to give you January stats. Total book circulation was 4699, ebooks 858, computers 301 uses, program attendance 274 people for a total of 6,132 library uses. So the need is there.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, Councillor Gang. Councillor Chichuk?
Well, Mr. Mayor, yes, I was very happy to be at the coldest night of the year event, although the indigestion from the chili that we tried afterwards certainly kept me up most of the night. It was a great success. It's great fun, and it certainly does build team amongst the staff and council. And we came second to Grimsby in the fundraising, and I hear they incentivied themselves with money we didn't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So in the grand scheme of things, I think we did a pretty good job. The other thing was I missed the time, Mr. Mayor, earlier on, just to say, I know Councillor Ganane goes on about it, but we did at committee receive and support the acceptance of a grant and the moving forward on the Wellandport Library and the renovations or changes to the Wellandport Hall that will be useful for that hall to be renewed. And that was great work by all the staff, the library staff, Vanessa Holman, and our own staff, Donna DeFilippis, the CAO, and a number of other people who had input to that grant application. We were greatly successful. $400,000 plus isn't to be sneezed at. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for the leadership that you've had. And I look forward, I understand there's a timeline, et cetera, coming back, so I look forward for all that information. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Trombetta?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if this time, I know we've talked about, as we approach, and not to go back and just sum this up real quick, I know how we talked about in April, how we're going to get together, and we're going to have a big meeting, obviously, in April coming forward. So maybe I'll because I'm Chair of Public Works at this time, and with talking with the Vice Chair, if we need extra time, that we arrange the meeting, because I remember last Public Works meeting, we had to be done by 12 o'clock, I guess, according to municipal law. And if we have to get correspondence out to members of council that if we have to slot in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, or 5, let's get it out there early before it's later. So I'll be talking to the CAO about that later on. So just to bring that forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a quick note. I normally don't do this, but it was brought to my attention that my name was used in the paper on the weekend by Mike Willis-Kraft, and if I may be specific, I will quote it. Resident Walt Zimmerman approached me in the council chamber scratching his head at a comment he had been told by Councillor Rayner that the arena had to go because it was unsafe to be in. And then he said, that is a powerful statement. 3 or 4 paragraphs below, he said the job of a newspaper is to communicate news and opinion, not create it. I'd just like the people to know that this was created. I did not say that in any way, shape, or form to Mr. Zimmerman. And when I called Mr. Zimmerman, he said he called Mr. Willis-Kraft and related to him because he, again, said he agreed with me. He said, that's not what you said to me, and that's not what I said to Mr. Willis-Kraft. So it's important that, as Mr. Willis-Kraft said, that the newspaper creates, puts down and communicates truthful information. Basically, what I said was exactly what Councillor Bilsma and Councillor Bell made note of with regards to this 47-year-old building and the state and the condition that it's in and the cost to have it repaired. I did not in any way, shape, or form say it was unsafe to be in, and Walter Zimmerman concurred that I never said that. So Mr. Willis-Kraft should realize that when he hears information secondhand and it's something like he says, a powerful statement, it probably would be better, especially with the experience that he has, that he goes to the individual who actually said it to make sure he gets clarification that that's exactly what the other gentleman or person said that I said. And that would have prevented this from happening. So it's just something that was noted. I normally don't read the newspaper. It was brought to my attention by somebody else. but it's important that when something is put in the paper, that it is factual. It adds to the credibility of whoever's saying it, and it also adds credibility to the individual who publishes it in the paper. It's just important to be consistent. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, so we are at new items of business. And is there any members of council have new items of business? Seeing none, Madam Clerk. Yes, we will be bringing forward some new bylaws after the first round of bylaws are read out by Councillor Bosma. So you have that resolution, Councillor.
Yep.
Councillor Chichuk, you have the second set of bylaws to read out. Oh, okay. Thank you, Councillor Trombetta. So, Councillor Bosma, if you can start, please.
Yep, thank you very much. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Trombetta, that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2017, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading, and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Bosma and seconded by Councillor, I believe, Trombetta. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Trombetta, you have the second set of bylaws, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chichuk that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2017-22, 21, 22, 23, and 24, and that the same shall be considered to have been read first, a second, and third time with one reading, and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be hereby authorized to sign and affix corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Sorry, because it's to introduce a new item of business, since it's new.
So, okay,
That
that's
one.
this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Sorry.
Sorry, just some papers got
Yeah.
missed. So moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chichuk that leave be granted to introduce a new item of business being bylaws that were authorized at February 13, 2000 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be erroneously omitted from the evening's council agenda, being bylaw 2017-21. I read them all out.
If you, yeah.
21 by number only, or no, by number only, or
You can do
if that's okay, Mr. Mayor. By bylaw 2017-21, 2017-22, and 2017-23, and 2017-24.
No. Okay, so councillors, moved by Councillor Trombetta, second by Councillor Chichuk, bylaws 21, 22, 23, and 24. Questions or comments? Councillor Rayner?
This is concerning what? Is this farmland that's under winter wheat right now, or is it?
Clerk's going to tell you.
Okay, so bylaw 2017-21 is to authorize a subdivision agreement with Mars Homes
Where?
at the Old Town Gateway Estates, over here by the Smithville Garage.
Oh, but
The
Smith-
cemetery and the garage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The other one is to enter into a condominium agreement with RVL Contracting for the property they own on Shuri Road.
Okay, I know that one.
Okay?
That's fine.
And the other two bylaws are with respect to parking and accessibility parking, like physically handicapped persons and that type of thing. There's two bylaws
Throughout
with
the
respect to
township?
parking. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So there's,
Thank you.
21 and 22, and then two parking bylaws, 23
Why
and
two?
24. They're set out different, one is with regards to signage, and the other one is with respect to penalties.
If you park
There's
there.
two different types of.
Oh, well, there is penalties if you park in an area you're not supposed to park.
Right,
Yeah.
so the one bylaw deals with signage, and the other bylaw dealt
Deals
with
with penalties relating
fines
to the
and
signage.
penalties.
Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
that was to introduce a new item of business.
Okay, so just, I need a vote on just to introduce a new item of business, which was the 4 bylaws. All in favor? That is carried. Now, the next one is to actually confirm the bylaws of 21, 22, 23, and 24. And that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 21, 22, 23, and 24, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and hereby adopted. And that was moved by Councillor Trombetta and seconded by Councillor Chichuk, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, Councillor Chichuk. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay.
Now we're good. What time? 9:51. That's it, we're out of here.
Okay, so now that we've read out all the bylaws, there is no confidential matters tonight, and the mayor declared the meeting adjourned at the hour of 9:51.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. No. 1 second, everybody, just so it gets shut down.
I gotta go to the bathroom.